Chapter 2462. In the blink of an eye, the entire Chun family had been slaughtered, and the air was filled with a thick stench of blood. Wang Ming was undoubtedly the most terrified of this outcome. At this moment, Wang Ming, who was sprawled at Xiao Chen's feet like a dead dog, looked at Xiao Chun with only horror in his eyes. He had never thought that Xiao Chun would have such strength. "You? Who are you? How can you have such a cultivation?" He looked at Xiao Chun in disbelief. Wang Ming was already doubting whether the Xiao Chun in front of him was the real Xiao Chun. After all, Xiao Chen's cultivation was only at the Yellow Realm. How could he become so strong in the blink of an eye? Wang Ming might be a little foppish and arrogant, but he was definitely not a fool. If he had known that Xiao Chun had such strength, he would never have provoked Xiao Chun, let alone for a woman. Given the strength that Xiao Chun had displayed, Wang Ming was certain that even the Ju Mountain sect would not be able to stop Xiao Chun. In other words, Wang Ming had personally attracted a great enemy for the Ju Mountain sect, an unmatched enemy. It was even possible that the Ju Mountain sect would be doomed eternally because of Xiao Chun. In the face of Wang Ming's horror, Xiao Chun only glanced at him indifferently and said, "It's hard for you to die now even if you want to." Xiao Chun had no intention of killing Wang Ming. At least not now. In Xiao Chen's opinion, Wang Ming had not yet felt despair. It was not enough. The change in the Chun family naturally attracted the attention of the other families in Lingshan County. Even the city lord's mansion was alarmed. At this moment, the city lord of Lingshan County was sitting in the main hall of the city lord's mansion. He looked at a middle-aged man with a grave expression and said, "The Chun family has been destroyed?" "Yes." The middle-aged man replied respectfully. First, the Xiao family was destroyed, and in the blink of an eye, the Chun family was destroyed. In less than a day, 2 of the 3 big families in Lingshan County had been destroyed. Only the Ma family was left. Do you know the details? The city lord of Lingshan County frowned and asked in a deep voice. The middle-aged man shook his head and said, "I don't know yet." Naturally, no one could get close to the Chun family now. Therefore, outsiders did not know the details of the Chun family's extermination. The governor's first reaction was that the Ju Mountain sect was behind it. After all, in the city lord's opinion, only the Ju Mountain sect had the ability to destroy the Chun family in an instant. They didn't realize that this matter was related to Xiao Chun. After all, no matter how powerful Xiao Chun was, he was only a warrior in the Yellow Realm. Although his future achievements were limitless, Xiao Chun didn't have the ability to destroy the Chens. On this day, Lingshan County City had indeed undergone a huge change. However, as the saying goes, some families were happy while others were sad. At this moment, the Ma family was filled with laughter. The upper echelons of the Ma family gathered in the main hall. The Ma family head sat on the main seat with a smile on his face. The Xiao family and the Chun family have been exterminated. Congratulations, family head. From now on, the Ma family will be the #1 family in Lingshan County City. Hearing this, an elder of the Ma family congratulated with a smile. For a long time, the Ma family, the Xiao family, and the Chun family had been fighting openly and secretly in Lingshan County City. However, after so many years, no one could do anything to the other. Now that the Xiao family and the Chun family had been exterminated, without the threat of these 2 families, the Ma family could indeed be called the #1 family in Lingshan County City. If the Ma family could even take over some of the properties of the Xiao family and the Chun family, they might even have the ability to compete with the governor's mansion and become a true local tyrant. Unfortunately, although their idea was good, reality didn't let the Ma family be happy for too long. Just as the elder of the Ma family finished speaking, a terrifying pressure descended from the sky. This pressure directly enveloped the entire Lingshan County City. At the same time, Xiao Chun, Wang Ming, and the elder of the Ju Mountain sect stood proudly in the sky above Lingshan County City. Of course, Wang Ming and the elder of the Ju Mountain sect had been brought up into the sky by them. Given their cultivation, they couldn't fly at all. Looking at Xiao Chun standing proudly in the sky, as if he was walking on flat ground, Wang Ming and the elder of the Ju Mountain sect lost all hope. to be able to fly in the sky. His cultivation definitely surpassed the celestial realm. When he thought about how he had provoked such a powerful enemy for the Ju Mountain sect, Wang Ming's heart turned dark. Xiao Chun didn't care about the changes in their expressions at all. Looking down at Lingshan County City, especially where the governor's mansion was, Xiao Chun said coldly, "All of you deserve to die. From today onwards, Lingshan County City will cease to exist." That was right. Xiao Chun wanted to slaughter Lingshan County City. Just as Xiao Chun finished speaking, the governor of Lingshan County City strode out of the hall and looked up at Xiao Chun and the other two standing proudly in the sky. When he saw Xiao Chun, the governor of Lingshan County City was immediately stunned. Jiamu was possible, but what was going on with Xiao Chun? The city lord of Lingshan County knew that the Ju Mountain sect had made a move against the Xiao clan, but he chose to watch from the sidelines. He had no intention of interfering at all. It was no wonder that he was so surprised to see Xiao Chun at this time. Xiao Chun was actually still alive, and from the looks of it, it seemed that he had taken down Wang Ming and the Ju Mountain sect elder. But this was impossible. How could Xiao Chun have such strength? However, that terrifying pressure constantly told the governor that everything in front of him was real and there was nothing fake about it at all. The governor of Lingshan County City was terrified by that terrifying pressure. He braced himself and said to Xiao Chun in the sky, "Xiao Chun." Hearing the governor's words, Xiao Chun glanced at him indifferently and said, "From today onwards, Lingshan County City will cease to exist." Cease to exist? Was Xiao Chun going to slaughter Lingshan County City as well? He wanted to massacre the entire city. When the governor heard this, he immediately guessed what Xiao Chun was going to do. He was shocked. This was definitely something that only a demonic martial artist would do. Massacring the entire city meant the lives of millions of people. Shocked, the governor shouted, "Xiao Chun, you are also a citizen of Lingshan County City. How can you do something like massacring the entire city? This is also your home." The governor naturally couldn't watch Xiao Chun massacre the entire city. Furthermore, he didn't expect things to develop like this. However, Xiao Chun didn't mind his words at all. "Home? When my Xiao family was massacred, where are the people of Lingshan County City? Where is the governor's mansion? Why didn't anyone stop me? If that's the case, what's the point of having Lingshan County City? Today I will bury the entire city with my Xiao family." Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2463. When the Xiao family was massacred, all the major forces in Lingshan County City chose to ignore it. Even the city governor's office, which controlled Lingshan County City, had no intention of intervening. Therefore, in Xiao Chen's eyes, everyone in Lingshan County City deserved to die. When the Xiao family was massacred, all the major forces in Lingshan County City chose to ignore it. Even the city governor's office, which controlled Lingshan County City, had no intention of intervening. Therefore, in Xiao Chen's eyes, everyone in Lingshan County City deserved to die. Falling into the demonic path was a sign of falling into the demonic path. Although he was in an illusion, Xiao Chun had already fallen into the demonic path. Perhaps this was the terrifying part of the immortal demon path. One thought could become an immortal, and another could turn into a demon. After experiencing the massacre of the Xiao family and the murder of his parents, Xiao Chun was slowly falling into the demonic path in the illusion. If he did not wake up in time, then Xiao Chun would very likely be completely reduced to a killing machine and would be trapped in the illusion forever. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chun did not wait for the city governor's reply. With a single thought, a terrifying pressure suddenly descended from the sky like a mountain. Everyone in Lingshan County City was instantly crushed and turned into a bloody mist. Ordinary people, without cultivation, could not even withstand a trace of Xiao Chen's aura. As for warriors like the city governor and the Ma family master, although they were much stronger than ordinary people, in Xiao Chen's eyes, they were still ants that could be easily crushed. There was not much difference between them. Looking at the blood flowing like a river in Lingshan County City, the city governor's face was filled with anger. He looked at Xiao Chun unwillingly. "Why? Why did you massacre the city? It was the Jew Mountain sect who killed your Shao family. Why? He shouted angrily. However, the city governor's angry shout did not receive an answer. Just as he finished speaking, Xiao Qian's terrifying pressure had already crushed him to death. The governor was dead, and so was the Ma family. Just a second ago, the Ma family was still fantasizing about becoming the #1 family in Lingshan County. Now, their heads were separated from their bodies. Before they could wake up from their dreams, the Ma family was destroyed just like that. With Xiao Qian's current half-step Emperor Realm cultivation, it was indeed not too difficult for him to wipe out a small city like Lingshan County City. But when Wang Ming and the Jew Mountain sect elder saw this, their faces turned pale, and they couldn't help shivering in their hearts. Dead. An entire city, millions of people, died in an instant just like that. Even their corpses were left behind. Looking around, there was not a single person left alive in Lingshan County City. Not even corpses were left. There was only a thick smell of blood and a river of blood that was constantly gathering together. The sky was dyed red with blood, as if it was telling the story of what had happened to Lingshan County City. Wang Ming was completely terrified when he saw the instigator of all this. He admitted that he wasn't a good person, but Wang Ming would never do something like massacring a city. After all, this was millions of lives. Moreover, what terrified Wang Ming the most was that after doing all this, Xiao Qian's expression didn't change at all. He was still as calm as water, as if what happened just now had nothing to do with him at all. Devil, you. Wang Ming stared blankly at Xiao Qian as if he had been scared out of his wits. Devil, you. Faced with Wang Ming's words, Xiao Qian said indifferently, "Don't worry, your Jew Mountain sect's fate will definitely be 10,000 times worse than Lingshan County City's. I guarantee it." After saying that, the corners of Xiao Qian's mouth curled up into a faint smile. When Wang Ming saw this smile, he couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He killed millions of people without any hesitation. Even after doing all this, his expression didn't change at all. How callous did he have to be to do something like this? Lingshan County City was completely burned to the ground. Just as Xiao Qian had said, from now on, Lingshan County City would no longer exist in this world. After dealing with Lingshan County City, Xiao Qian led Wang Ming and Wang Ming directly to Jew Mountain sect without any reluctance. To Xiao Qian, Jew Mountain sect deserved to die the most. As he watched Xiao Qian approach Jew Mountain sect, Wang Ming felt as if he could already see the scene of Xiao Qian directly destroying Jew Mountain sect. This person was a devil who killed without batting an eyelid. Even Lingshan County City was massacred, so one could imagine the fate of Jew Mountain sect. Wang Ming was filled with regret. If he had known earlier that this would happen, he would never have incurred the wrath of Xiao Qian. He wouldn't have even gone to Lingshan County City, not even once. Regret was one thing, but it was a pity that time couldn't be turned back. Things had already happened, and the outcome seemed destined. Nothing could be changed. Under Xiao Qian's lead, the three of them quickly arrived at Jew Mountain sect and landed directly on the Sectmaster's square. Seeing Xiao Qian and the other two descend from the sky, many Jew Mountain sect disciples turned to look at them. When they saw that it was Wang Ming, many of them revealed looks of adoration. As the young Sectmaster of Jew Mountain sect, Wang Ming naturally had a high prestige in the sect. However, in the face of the gazes of so many Jew Mountain sect disciples, Wang Ming's heart was like dead ashes. It was over. Jew Mountain sect was finished. He had already felt Xiao Qian's despair. He clearly knew what was going to happen next, but there was nothing he could do to stop it, let alone change anything. This feeling was truly unbearable. However, Xiao Qian didn't think this was enough, because everything had just begun. Xiao Qian wanted everyone in Jew Mountain sect to feel despair and regret. His aura erupted and instantly enveloped the entire Jew Mountain sect. Under the cover of Xiao Qian's aura, no one in Jew Mountain sect could escape Xiao Qian's perception. He easily took control of the entire Jew Mountain sect. At the same time, A group of Jew Mountain sect elders and sect master hurried over. May I know which senior has graced my Jew Mountain sect with your presence? Please excuse us for not going out to meet you. A voice sounded, and then a middle-aged man quickly came to the main square with a few people. The middle-aged man was the sect master of Jew Mountain sect and Wang Ming's father, Wang Songshi. When he saw Wang Ming next to Xiao Chun, Wang Songshi was taken aback, then said suspiciously, "Ming." From Xiao Chen's aura, Wang Songshi already knew that this person was very strong. At the very least, he wasn't someone his Jew Mountain sect could contend with, but he hadn't expected Wang Ming to appear with such an expert. But before Wang Songshi could rejoice, Xiao Chen spoke indifferently. "My name is Xiao Chun. You should know me." Because of Xiao Chen's powerful aura, Wang Songshi had been very respectful, but when he heard Xiao Chun introduce himself, Wang Songshi was completely stunned. Xiao Chun, the Xiao family of Lingshan County City? Wang Songshi had also heard of the enmity between Wang Ming and Xiao Chun. Basically, Wang Songshi had tacitly approved of Wang Ming's revenge, which was why Wang Songshi was so shocked when he learned of Xiao Chen's identity. Please add, please vote, please recommend me. In a chapter. Chapter 2464. Wang Songshi had thought that it was a senior who had come to the Jew Mountain sect, but who would have thought that it was Xiao Chun? Stunned, Wang Songshi stared at Xiao Chun in front of him and said incredulously, "Impossible. How could you be Xiao Chun?" Wang Songshi had thought that it was a senior who had come to the Jew Mountain sect, but who would have thought that it was Xiao Chun? Stunned, Wang Songshi stared at Xiao Chun in front of him and said incredulously, "Impossible. How could you be Xiao Chun?" Wang Songshi knew a little about Xiao Chun and knew that he was the top genius of the Lingshan commandery. Even so, Wang Songshi did not take Xiao Chun seriously. No matter how outstanding Xiao Chun was, he was only a junior and his cultivation was only in the Yellow Realm. Such a person was no threat to the Jew Mountain sect. Talent was good, but what was the use of it if one did not live long? Therefore, Wang Songshi had never cared about Xiao Chun. However, the aura emanating from Xiao Chun, who was standing in front of Wang Songshi at the moment, made even Wang Songshi tremble with fear. A chill that came from the bottom of his heart kept telling Wang Songshi that Xiao Chun was very, very dangerous. He could not connect the Xiao Chun in front of him with the Xiao Chun in his memory. He could not believe that they were the same person. But whether Wang Songshi wanted to believe it or not, it was the truth. Xiao Chun stepped forward and stood in front of Wang Songshi. He looked at Wang Songshi indifferently and said, "Believe it or not, I'm here anyway. You should know why I'm here." Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wang Songshi was stunned and did not know what to say for a moment. Xiao Chen did not care about this. Since the Jew Mountain sect had defeated the Xiao family and killed his parents, Xiao Chun would naturally make the Jew Mountain sect pay a heavy price. With a thought, the sword realm unfolded. Countless sharp sword chi instantly enveloped the entire Jew Mountain sect. In the beginning, many disciples of the Jew Mountain sect did not react. With their level of cultivation and eyesight, they naturally did not know what the power of a world was. Therefore, when they were enveloped by the sword realm, many disciples of the Jew Mountain sect were puzzled. They wondered what kind of power this was and why they had never seen it before. Due to their ignorance, they did not feel fear. Of course, this was only temporary. As some of them were injured by the sword chi in the sword realm, many disciples of the Jew Mountain sect realized that this mysterious force was very dangerous. The sword chi was like sharp knives. Under Xiao Chen's deliberate control, the sword chi did not directly kill the disciples of the Jew Mountain sect. Instead, it seemed to be torturing them. Each sword chi slashed at a vital point. While the disciples of the Jew Mountain sect could not resist, they could not die. At the same time, they could only watch helplessly as their flesh was cut into pieces by the Jieni sword. All the disciples of the Jew Mountain sect were enveloped and tortured by the sword chi. Miserable screams rose and fell one after another. The terrifying sword chi left the disciples of the Jew Mountain sect completely powerless to resist. They could only watch as their bodies were torn apart and cut into pieces by the sword chi. Xiao Chunyu. Wang Songsher was stunned when he saw this, and then he shouted angrily. Unfortunately, Wang Songsher and the other senior members of the Ju Mountain sect were unable to move at all. It was as if their bodies had been imprisoned, and they could not move at all. They could only watch as the disciples of the Ju Mountain sect were tortured by Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun was not in a hurry to make a move on Wang Songsher and the other higher-ups of the Ju Mountain sect. Xiao Chun wanted to keep them alive and torture them slowly. One by one, the disciples of the Ju Mountain sect screamed as they fell to the ground. For a moment, rivers of blood flowed everywhere in the Ju Mountain sect, making it look like hell on earth. Your Ju Mountain sect wiped out my Xiao family. Today, I will wipe out your Ju Mountain sect. It's reasonable, don't you think? Xiao Chun said indifferently as he looked at Wang Songsher with a cold smile. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wang Songsher's eyes turned red, but there was nothing he could do. He himself could not move, let alone the others. On the side, Wang Ming watched the disciples of the Ju Mountain sect die one by one. Moreover, their deaths were incomparably miserable. Almost no skin was left intact on their bodies. Wang Ming couldn't help but burst into tears. Xiao Chun, every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. If you want to kill me, then kill me. They are innocent. This matter has nothing to do with them. I am the one who wiped out your Xiao family. Let them go. Wang Ming completely collapsed at that moment. Helplessly watching the disciples of the Ju Mountain sect being slaughtered by Xiao Chun, Wang Ming's last line of defense collapsed. Hearing Wang Ming's words, Xiao Chun turned to look at him and sneered. Innocent? Wang Ming, I remember you saying that there is nothing innocent in this world. If you're not as strong as others, then you can't blame others. When you wiped out my Xiao family, weren't the others innocent? If you want to blame someone, you can only blame your Ju Mountain sect for being too weak. Xiao Chun obviously wouldn't let anyone from the Ju Mountain sect off. Although many of them had not participated in the Xiao family's affairs, they would be buried with the sect just because they were disciples of the Ju Mountain sect. As for whether they were innocent or not, Xiao Chun obviously wouldn't consider this. Just like when the Xiao family was wiped out, had Wang Ming considered whether the other members of the Xiao family were innocent? As he spoke, Xiao Chun glanced at the elder next to Wang Ming. At that moment, the elder's entire face was ashen and his expression dull. He clearly knew what his final outcome would be. Moreover, compared with the other elders of the Ju Mountain sect, his fate would probably be even more miserable, since he was the one who had personally wiped out the Xiao family. After more than an hour, all the disciples of the Ju Mountain sect were dead. At that moment, only Wang Songsher and his son, the elders and Wang Songsher's wife, Wang Ming's mother, were left in the huge Ju Mountain sect. Wang Songsher and the others watched helplessly as Xiao Chun slaughtered the numerous disciples of the Ju Mountain sect little by little. For a moment, their hearts were like dead ashes, and Wang Songsher himself roared crazily. Xiao Chun, you devil, aren't you afraid of incurring the wrath of the heavens by doing this? What's the difference between you and a martial artist of the devil path? The Ju Mountain sect, which had been passed down for many years, was completely finished. It had been wiped out by Xiao Chun in less than an hour. In the face of Wang Songsher's angry roar, Xiao Chun sneered indifferently. Devil? That's right, to your Ju Mountain sect, I am indeed the devil, and this is just the beginning. Wang Songsher, Wang Ming, do you think this is the end? Slaughtering the numerous disciples of the Ju Mountain sect was just the beginning. After saying this, without waiting for Wang Songsher's reply, Xiao Chun slowly stretched out his right hand and made a grasping motion in the air. Wang Songsher's wife, Wang Ming's mother, was directly grabbed by Xiao Chun from the back mountain of the Ju Mountain sect and brought to the main square. Looking at the beautiful woman in front of him with deep fear on his face, Xiao Chun's eyes didn't waver in the slightest. Please add, please vote, please recommend me. Chapter 2465. In the face of Wang Ming's mother and Wang Songsher's wife, Xiao Chun was still unmoved. However, when Wang Ming saw Xiao Chun forcibly capture his mother, he went completely crazy. He was completely suppressed by Xiao Chen's aura and couldn't break free at all. However, Wang Ming still gritted his teeth and said, "Xiao Chun, what are you doing? Are you still a man? You actually attacked a woman. Let go of my mother." In this world, there was no doubt that Wang Ming had the best relationship with his mother. Wang Songshi had either been busy cultivating or dealing with the affairs of Zhu Mountain sect since he was young. He had very little time to casually accompany Wang Ming. Most of the time, Wang Ming was with his mother. Thus, compared with Wang Songshi, Wang Ming's feelings for his mother were clearly deeper. When he saw Xiao Chan about to attack his mother, Wang Ming completely couldn't bear it any longer. However, in the face of Wang Ming's angry roar, Xiao Chun completely ignored him. Seeing this, Wang Ming's anger at the beginning turned into a bitter pleading in the end. "Xiao Chun, let my mother go. If you want to kill her, kill me. I'll take responsibility for my own actions. I did all of this. It has nothing to do with my mother," Wang Ming said in a tearful voice. From his point of view, Wang Ming could indeed be considered a filial son. However, when Xiao Chun heard this, he said indifferently, "You'll take responsibility for your own actions. A man should take responsibility for his own actions. Can you take responsibility for it alone?" The entire Xiao family had been massacred. Even the maids and guards weren't spared. Wang Ming naturally couldn't take responsibility for it alone. As he spoke, Xiao Chun looked at Wang Ming. His expression was still indifferent, but at this moment, when he met Xiao Chen's gaze, Wang Ming didn't know why he actually panicked. It was as if Xiao Chan was going to do something that he couldn't accept in the next second. Sure enough, Xiao Chun looked at Wang Ming and said indifferently, "Since you love your mother so much, don't you think it'll be very interesting if you kill her yourself? Kill his mother himself?" Hearing this, Wang Ming was stunned for a moment. Then he shook his head frantically. "No, Xiao Chun. If you want to kill someone, kill me. Don't make things difficult for my mother." Wang Ming was indeed very filial to his mother. However, this scene made Xiao Chen's killing intent explode. Why? Xiao Chen also loved his mother, but Wang Ming killed his mother. When Wang killed Bai Ruyue, did he ever think of this point? When he killed Bai Ruyue, he didn't think about this point. Thus, Xiao Chen's heart didn't soften his heart at all. Why? Because Xiao Chen killed his mother. Wang killed his mother was killed. Why? Why? Because his killed his mother? Killed his mother killed her. Killed mother? Killed? Since Wang Ming had killed his parents, Xiao Chun would let Wang Ming witness his parents being killed with his own eyes. This could be considered giving Wang Ming a taste of his own medicine. Wang Ming was extremely unwilling in his heart, but Xiao Chun didn't give him a chance. When Wang Ming killed his parents, Xiao Chun already saw him as one of the four people. Moreover, as the killing intent in his heart continued to grow, Xiao Chun also continued to sink into the illusion. At this moment, Xiao Chun already didn't care about reality or illusion. He only thought about revenge. And just as Xiao Chun was about to make his move, in the outside world, Xiao Chun had already spent more than a month in the illusion. However, in the outside world, only 2 hours had passed since Xiao Chun entered the Immortal Demon Road. At this moment, in Mu Lingxian's residence, after stopping the conflict between Gong Nantian and He Tian, Mu Lingxian sat alone in the courtyard and drank tea. However, his gaze would occasionally look in the direction of the Immortal Demon Road. Mu Lingxian was indeed very concerned about Xiao Chun entering the Immortal Demon Road. At this moment, Xiao Chun's situation wasn't very good. This was because Xiao Chun had gradually sunk into the illusion. Mu Lingxian sighed lightly and said indifferently, "Forget it. This venerable one will help you this time." With that, Mu Lingxian gently pointed with his finger. Immediately, a white light flashed and directly entered the Immortal Demon Road. In the Immortal Demon Road, Xiao Chun should have entered the village. However, at this moment, the village was no longer there. Xiao Chun was sitting cross-legged on the Immortal Demon Road. Around Xiao Chun, there were many skeletons. These people were in the same posture as Xiao Chun, sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed. Obviously, the skeletons around Xiao Chun were people who had entered the Immortal Demon Road but failed. Like Xiao Chun, they were trapped in the illusion and couldn't extricate themselves. In the end, they directly fell here. The Immortal Demon Road. The Immortal Demon Road tested a person's state of mind. One thought to become an immortal, and one thought to become a demon. Once one fell into the illusion, it was equivalent to a complete failure. Xiao Chun was currently in such a situation. If Xiao Chun didn't wake up in time, then it was very likely that he would be like the people around him, trapped in the illusion and unable to extricate himself. In the end, he would fall here. However, with Mu Lingxian's move, the white light directly entered the Immortal Demon token on Xiao Chen's waist. Fortunately, Gong Nantian had given the Immortal Demon token to Xiao Chun. Otherwise, it would take a lot of effort for Mu Lingxian to help. With the Immortal Demon token, everything was much simpler. After the white light entered the Immortal Demon token, a gentle white light was emitted from the Immortal Demon token, enveloping Xiao Chen's entire body. Under the cover of the white light, Xiao Chen's originally somewhat ferocious expression gradually eased up. The white light was the Immortal Demon token helping Xiao Chun to expel his inner demons and remove the illusion. In the illusion, Xiao Chun, who was originally bursting with killing intent, had a white light fall from the sky at this moment. Under the cover of the white light, Xiao Chen's expression quickly changed. He was almost trapped in the illusion and unable to extricate himself. Fortunately, the white light appeared in time and pulled Xiao Chen back. With the help of the white light, Xiao Chen's mind was clear. He quickly realized that he had been in the illusion all along. The originally terrifying killing intent completely dissipated and was replaced by a self-mocking smile. Shaking his head, Xiao Chun laughed self-deprecatingly. After so many years, I thought that my state of mind was as firm as a rock. Who would have thought that in the end, I would still fall into the illusion? Xiao Chun knew that he had almost fallen into the illusion. Although he was still a little afraid, with the help of the Immortal Demon token, he at least managed to wake up in time. Furthermore, with the guidance of the white light, Xiao Chun also knew how to break out of the illusion. Xiao Chen's sudden change confused Wang Ming, Wang Songshi, and the others. They naturally didn't know why Xiao Chun, who had been brimming with killing intent a second ago, had completely transformed into a different person in the next second. At this moment, Xiao Chun no longer had much killing intent in his eyes as he looked at Wang Ming, Wang Songshi, and the others. Everything was just an illusion, and his parents were still alive and well. After waking up, Xiao Chun naturally didn't have the same killing intent as before. Please add, please vote, please recommend. Chapter 2466. Phew! Xiao Chun exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and regained his clarity of mind. His killing intent from before instantly vanished like smoke in thin air. He glanced at Wang Ming and the others around him. At that moment, Xiao Chen's expression was already very calm as he faced them, without any sadness or joy. Phew! Xiao Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and regained his clarity of mind. His killing intent from before instantly vanished like smoke in thin air. He glanced at Wang Ming and the others around him. At that moment, Xiao Chen's expression was already very calm as he faced them, without any sadness or joy. The people in front of him were just illusions, so Xiao Chen naturally wouldn't get angry with these non-existent people. With a gentle wave of his hand, Wang Ming and the others disappeared in an instant, as if they had never existed. At the same time, the surrounding scenery began to change constantly. The surrounding scenery began to collapse, and the sky collapsed, and the earth caved in. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chun had returned to the Immortal Demon Road. Xiao Chun, who was originally sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, slowly opened them at this moment. He slowly scanned his surroundings and found that there were skeletons all around. Xiao Chun shook his head and laughed. Xiao Chun had already guessed the origins of these people. They probably couldn't break the illusion and had completely sunk into it and died in the end. Xiao Chun naturally wouldn't underestimate the environment of the Immortal Demon Road. He had personally experienced it, and even he himself had almost sunk into it and couldn't extricate himself. After so many years, this was the first time Xiao Chun had seen such a realistic illusion. He got up and gently patted the immortal demon token. He knew that he was able to successfully break the illusion thanks to the help of the immortal demon token. Otherwise, given his previous state in the illusion, it was hard to say what the final result would be. A small token had actually saved his life. Of course, Xiao Chun didn't know that Mu Lingxian had also helped him. He had successfully resolved the crisis. At the same time, Xiao Chun also knew the specific use of the immortal demon token. With the immortal demon token, Xiao Chun could indeed run amok on the immortal demon road. However, Xiao Chun had to rely on himself to pass the test on the immortal demon road. However, Xiao Chun didn't think too much about it and quickly continued on his journey. Xiao Chun didn't know how long the immortal demon road was, but with the immortal demon token, Xiao Chun was very confident. Along the empty immortal demon road, Xiao Chun didn't know how long he had walked. Soon, a palace appeared in front of Xiao Chun. This palace looked very simple, and there was nothing special about it. However, it really crossed the immortal demon road. If one wanted to continue moving forward, they had to pass through this palace. As Xiao Chun came to the front of the palace, the door slowly opened. Suddenly, a heart-palpitating aura spread out. This aura gave people a feeling of dusk. The palace was pitch black, and he couldn't see anything at all. Moreover, Xiao Chun also tried to use his spirit to explore, but it was still to no avail. Completely unable to find out what was in the palace, Xiao Chun was helpless. He could only brace himself and walk into the palace. As Xiao Chun strode into the palace, the door closed automatically. At the same time, the scene in front of Xiao Chun changed. In the blink of an eye, he seemed to have arrived in a starry sky. Surrounded by an endless starry sky, he stood proudly above the starry sky. At the same time, four huge golden statues slowly condensed and formed around him. Each of the four statues was tens of thousands of meters tall. Standing before them, Xiao Chun looked as insignificant as a speck of dust. Furthermore, each of the statues was extremely lifelike. One could even say that they were extremely lifelike. They were like four gods, inspiring awe and veneration in the hearts of those who saw them. It's not an illusion. After sensing carefully, Xiao Chun was sure that he wasn't an illusion. This should be a small world formed by the interior of the palace. To put it simply, although Xiao Chun seemed to be in a starry sky, Xiao Chun was still in the palace. The space formed by the palace wasn't simple. However, before Xiao Chun could ponder any further, one of the golden statues began to shake violently. Following the shaking, cracks began to spread on the statue. Finally, accompanied by a muffled sound, the statue directly exploded. At the same time, a young man appeared in front of Xiao Chun. The young man appeared from this statue. However, looking at the young man in front of him, Xiao Chun could tell that he wasn't a living person at all. Instead, he was only left with a wisp of his soul, and there was no possibility of him being resurrected. It was just a remnant soul. Faced with Xiao Chun's gaze, the young man took a step forward and appeared in front of Xiao Chun in an instant. He sized Xiao Chun up and said faintly, "You are right. Not bad. After so many years, you're the first person to be able to reach this place. Yeah, the immortal demon token? No wonder. This palace should be the second test on the immortal demon road. However, after so many years, no one could reach this place. In the first test, no one could break the illusion. At first, he was a little surprised. However, when he saw the immortal demon token on Xiao Chun's waist, the young man revealed a look of realization. No wonder he could reach this place. It turned out that he had the help of the immortal demon token. Hearing the young man's words, Xiao Chun opened his mouth and asked, "Who are you?" It could be seen that the young man was only left with a wisp of his soul. Xiao Chun was also curious about the young man's identity. Facing Xiao Chun's question, the young man smiled and said, "My name is Bai Tao. I am considered one of the guardians of this palace. Of course, it can also be said that I am your test." The young man was the golden statue from before. His appearance was exactly the same. Hearing this, Xiao Qian nodded and said, "Will defeating you be considered as passing this test?" "Haha, of course not. Do you see the other 3 statues? Merely defeating me is not enough. You need to defeat at least 2 of the 4 of us in order to pass." Hearing this, Bai Tao laughed in a clear voice. Defeating 2 of the 4 people. Hearing this, Xiao Chun didn't reply. Instead, he looked at the other 3 golden statues. At the same time, Bai Tao paused and said with a deep expression, "However, this is a requirement for ordinary challengers. Since you have the immortal demon token, you don't have to challenge us and can pass directly. However, in this way, you won't be able to get the opportunity given by the 4 of us. It's up to you to choose. Defeating the 4 of them could give you the opportunity." Hearing this, Xiao Chen frowned and looked directly at Bai Tao. Facing Xiao Chen's gaze, Bai Tao didn't avoid it. He calmly looked at Xiao Chun and said with a smile, "The choice is in your hands. Of course, if you choose to challenge us, we will suppress our cultivation to the same level as yours. This is also the rule. We will fight at the same level. Please collect, please vote, please recommend." Chapter 2467. With the immortal demon token, Xiao Chun could choose whether or not to challenge Bai Tao and the others. Hearing Bai Tao's words, Xiao Chun fell into hesitation. If he didn't challenge them and went directly, it would be the safest. However, according to Bai Tao, once he did so, there would be no reward. Xiao Chun didn't know the identity of Bai Tao and the others, nor did he know what the so-called reward was. Therefore, he didn't know whether it was worth challenging the 4 of them or what the consequences would be if he failed the challenge. What are the consequences if I fail the challenge? And what is the so-called reward? After a moment of hesitation, Xiao Chun looked up at Bai Tao and asked. It was also because Xiao Chun did not know the identities of Bai Tao and the others. Otherwise, he definitely would not have asked this question. After all, given the identities of Bai Tao and the others, the rewards that they could give out were obviously not ordinary. Bai Tao, Di Jun, Fan Tian, and Xueqin were absolutely famous in the Hongmeng world. The 4 statues in front of him were the 4 of them. Bai Tao and the others had indeed fallen many years ago. However, in the past, Bai Tao and the others were known as the 4 divine gods. They were the top experts in the entire Hongmeng world. Before Mu Lingxian became the world lord of the Hongmeng world, the 4 of them were the overlords of the entire Hongmeng world. It could be said that Bai Tao and the others were the older generation compared to Mu Lingxian. Before Mu Lingxian rose, the 4 of them were considered the most likely people to become the world lord. Mu Lingxian was able to become the world lord because he defeated Bai Tao and the others one by one. He didn't know why Bai Tao's remnant soul would appear on the immortal demon road. However, he was afraid that it had something to do with Mu Lingxian. Of course, this didn't matter to Xiao Chun. What was important was that with the status and strength of Bai Tao and the other 3, the rewards they would give would naturally not be ordinary. It should be known that Bai Tao and the others were all at the peak of the ancestor realm. They were all people who could be compared to Gong Nan Tian. Hearing Xiao Chen's question, Bai Tao smiled and said, "You are quite cautious." Originally, Bai Tao didn't need to answer Xiao Chen's question, but since Xiao Chun had the immortal demon token, Bai Tao was quite easygoing and explained with a smile, "If you fail the challenge, you will naturally fall here. You should know that this is not an illusion, so if you lose, you will naturally die. As for the reward, it's hard to say, but with your current cultivation, if you can obtain the reward, it will be enough for you to break through to the Emperor realm." At first, Xiao Chun did not pay too much attention to Bai Tao's words. Failure meant death. Xiao Chun had long since expected such an outcome. However, after hearing Bai Tao's last sentence, Xiao Chen's eyes suddenly revealed a hint of excitement. The reward was enough for him to break through to the Emperor realm. One had to know that although Xiao Chun was now a half-step Emperor realm master, if he cultivated normally, breaking through to the Emperor realm was not something that could be done in a short time. At this moment, Bai Tao actually said that their reward could allow him to directly break through to the Emperor realm. Such a temptation was very big for Xiao Chun. The Emperor realm and the half-step Emperor realm seemed to be half a step apart, but in fact the gap was very large. After all, a half-step Emperor realm master was not a true Emperor realm master. For example, Junwia and Xietian were both half-step Ancestor realm masters. But how could a half-step Ancestor realm master compare with a true Ancestor realm master? To be honest, Bai Tao's reward made Xiao Chun very excited. At the same time, he could not refuse. Breaking through to the Emperor realm was something that Xiao Chun had been thinking about recently. A large part of the reason why he stayed in the Cloud Palace to cultivate was that Xiao Chun wanted to break through to the Emperor realm as soon as possible. Only then could he turn the tide in the great Thousand Worlds righteous and demonic war. It was no exaggeration to say that if Xiao Chun could break through to the Emperor realm, then the evil spirits would no longer be a threat. At that time, Xiao Chun would have at least a 90% chance of killing the evil spirits. Who were the evil spirits? Xie Zi of the evil path, not to mention his extraordinary talent and heaven-defying combat strength. He definitely had many life-saving methods. Even so, as long as he broke through to the Emperor realm, Xiao Chun was still confident that he could kill him. This showed how big the gap between a half-step Emperor realm master and an Emperor realm master was. The reward was too tempting, so Xiao Chun agreed without hesitation. Okay, I choose to challenge. Xiao Chun finally made his choice. Firstly, the reward was too attractive. Secondly, Bai Tao said that they would suppress their cultivation to the same level as Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun was not afraid of anyone in the same realm. This was Xiao Chun's pride. Bai Tao did not seem to be surprised by Xiao Chun's choice. On the contrary, he showed a knowing smile and nodded. Good. In that case, let's begin. If even I am not your opponent, then you probably won't have much of a chance against the other three. Bai Tao, Di Jun, Fan Tian, and Shui Qin were actually very close in strength, so Bai Tao was the first to make a move. If Xiao Chun could not even defeat him, then there was no need for the other three to make a move. Hearing Bai Tao's words, Xiao Chun did not refuse. He nodded slightly, and then a terrifying aura soared into the sky. At the same time, he displayed the Sword Realm. Feeling the Sword Realm spreading, Bai Tao's eyes flashed with a smile. Sword physique, complete Sword Realm. Not bad. He did not expect Xiao Chun to have a sword physique. Even the primordial world, the sword physique was 1 in 10,000, and there might not even be one in 1,000,000 years. Bai Tao was a little excited. However, the real reason why Bai Tao was excited was not because Xiao Chun had a sword physique, but because Bai Tao was also a sword cultivator. Moreover, he was a top sword cultivator in the primordial world. At the same time, Bai Tao also had a sword physique. Among the 4 divine realm experts, Bai Tao was the only sword cultivator. He was excited. In an instant, the power of the sword realm erupted from Bai Tao's body and collided with Xiao Chen's sword realm. Feeling that Bai Tao also had a sword physique and also comprehended the sword realm, Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with a strange light. However, before Xiao Chun could think more, Xiao Chen's sword realm was in imminent danger under the impact of Bai Tao's sword realm. It was showing signs of collapsing. Xiao Chun could not tell what level Bai Tao's sword physique had reached. It was not at the complete sword realm, but its power was much stronger than his sword realm. It should be known that Xiao Chen's sword realm had reached the complete sword realm, and Bai Tao's sword realm was even stronger than his. Could there be other realms above the complete sword realm? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation. Chapter 2468. Bai Tao's sword world was indeed more powerful than Xiao Chen's. In the confrontation between the two sword worlds, Xiao Chun was undoubtedly at a disadvantage. On the other side, Bai Tao seemed to have seen through Xiao Chen's thoughts as he spoke with a faint smile. Bai Tao's sword world was indeed more powerful than Xiao Chen's. In the confrontation between the two sword worlds, Xiao Chun was undoubtedly at a disadvantage. On the other side, Bai Tao seemed to have seen through Xiao Chen's thoughts as he spoke with a faint smile. The perfect realm is indeed the peak of the sword world. However, the path of martial arts is so interesting. At the Ancestor realm, the division of realms no longer has much meaning. In other words, The perfect realm of the sword world is the peak for ordinary people. However, for those who truly stand at the peak, or those who have surpassed the peak, is this the limit? Bai Tao himself did not know what level his sword world was at, nor did he want to know. Just as Bai Tao had said, at his level, the division of realms no longer had any meaning to him. This was because the world simply did not know where his limit was, and it was even more impossible to touch his realm. Moreover, at the level of the ancestor realm, it was no longer possible to rely on the division of realms or the inheritance left behind to help future generations break through. If one wanted to break through to the ancestor realm, one could only rely on oneself. This was because every ancestor realm cultivator had their own understanding of the martial Tao. If one could not even comprehend this point thoroughly, wanting to break through to the ancestor realm was simply a fool's dream. So, did Bai Tao's sword world really surpass the perfect realm? Perhaps. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Tao's expression brightened. With a light clench of his right hand, an ancient longsword quickly condensed in his hand. Looking at Xiao Chun, Bai Tao softly said, "Be careful." As he spoke, he slashed out with his sword. This sword did not give off the slightest feeling of sharpness, but it made one's hair stand on end. There was no sorrow, no joy, nor the slightest killing intent. Just as Qin Feng had said, a truly sharp sword should be without sorrow or joy. It should not be measured by everything in the outside world. When I slashed out with my sword, I would be the center of the entire world. This was what it meant to have no sword in one's heart. Bai Tao had clearly reached the level of having no sword in his heart. It was clearly an ordinary attack, but Xiao Chun didn't know how to deal with it. It was as if he couldn't dodge this attack, but it was also as if this attack was supposed to hit him. This was the first time Xiao Chun had faced off against an expert who had comprehended swordsmanship to such a level. However, Xiao Chun did not choose to surrender. Instead, he slashed out with his sword, displaying the Emperor's sword. Compared to Bai Tao's sword, Xiao Chen's sword looked very intimidating. It gave people the feeling that it could cut the sky and split the earth. Compared to Bai Tao's sword, Xiao Chen's sword was at the opposite end of the spectrum. In the eyes of an ordinary martial artist, it was obvious that Xiao Chen's sword would make them feel stronger. This was because the sharpness of Xiao Chen's sword gave people the most intuitive feeling. On the other hand, Bai Tao's sword seemed ordinary, as if there was nothing special about it all. However, when the two swords collided fiercely, the results were poles apart. Xiao Chun had already displayed the Emperor's sword, but after clashing with Bai Tao's sword, the Emperor's sword quickly collapsed. It was as if they were not on the same level at all. Mediocrity was only on the surface. Perhaps it should be described as having been washed clean. No matter if it was Bai Tao's sword or Qin Feng's sword, they were all washed clean and returned to their original state, extremely restrained. But because of this, their swords were even stronger. There was no sword in one's heart because I was the sword. When I slashed out with my sword, there was no need for the world to change its color. After easily defeating Xiao Chen's Emperor's sword, Bai Tao's sword did not stop. It continued to attack Xiao Chun. In this regard, Xiao Chun had no choice but to slash out again. In the end, Xiao Chun only managed to block Bai Tao's sword after using the Emperor's sword 3 times in a row. 3 Emperor's swords were only able to block Bai Tao's sword. However, this sword was not a killing move for Bai Tao. It was just a casual slash. Moreover, from the beginning to the end, Bai Tao had indeed only used the cultivation of a half-step Emperor Master. He did not use his cultivation to suppress Xiao Chun. The two of them were in the same cultivation realm. Although their cultivation realm was the same, it was so difficult for Xiao Chun to block Bai Tao's sword. The reason for this was entirely because of the gap in their comprehension of the sword. Xiao Chen's current level was still at the level of showing off one's ability and killing with a sharp sword. However, Bai Tao had already stepped over this level and sublimated his own vision to another level. After using the Emperor's sword 3 times in a row, Xiao Chun had consumed a lot of energy. His aura was slightly restricted. Seeing this, Bai Tao said calmly, "Your comprehension of the sword is too shallow. If that's the case, little guy, You won't be a match for me in the same realm. Bai Tao could completely suppress Xiao Chun with just his comprehension of the sword. Hearing this, Xiao Chun did not refute because it was the truth. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Chun naturally could not back down since he had already chosen a challenge Bai Tao. Moreover, there was no room for regret. After fighting with Bai Tao just now, Xiao Chun seemed to have an extremely vague comprehension in his heart. He could not describe what it was, but it was very mysterious. It was as if a string in his body had been touched. Xiao Chun tightened his grip on the sword in his hand. This time, he did not wait for Bai Tao to make a move. He did not use the sword of the Emperor. It was just a casual attack. Compared to before, Xiao Chun's attack was somewhat similar to Bai Tao's and Qin Feng's. Although there was still a strong murderous aura and sharpness in the sword, there was an additional indescribable feeling. Interesting. Naturally, Bai Tao was able to see the change in Xiao Chun's sword. A hint of a smile flashed in his eyes. He did not expect this young man to be so smart. It took only one sword move for him to reach the threshold of having no sword in his heart. He had touched the threshold of the swordless heart so quickly. Such talent was indeed top-notch. At least, he was not weaker than Bai Tao. However, it was still not enough to just touch the threshold. With a casual wave of the sword in his hand, he easily shattered Xiao Chun's slash. Xiao Chun was not surprised at all. This was within his expectations. Moreover, when Xiao Chun slashed with his sword, he had already started the next step. He activated the sword realm to the extreme. He took a step forward, and his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. He directly used the Boundary Flash super skill. Just as he defeated Xiao Chun's slash, Xiao Chun suddenly appeared behind Bai Tao. However, Bai Tao seemed to have noticed it. He calmly stabbed with his sword, and it collided with Xiao Chun's sword. Bai Tao perfectly blocked Xiao Chun's attack and smiled. You used the Boundary Flash well. Please add it to your collection. Monthly votes recommended. Chapter 2469. Xiao Chun's World Flash did not pose any threat to Bai Tao. At his level, World Flash had already been used to perfection. As soon as he finished speaking, Bai Tao's figure instantly disappeared from the spot. He had also used World Flash. Bai Tao's World Flash was obviously much more than Xiao Chun's. Of course, the difference in speed between the two was not that big. After all, World Flash was different from movement techniques. It was almost impossible to improve it. The two of them kept using World Flash in the sword realm. At the same time, the long swords in their hands kept colliding with each other. However, Xiao Chun was obviously at a disadvantage every time they collided. Xiao Chun was really struggling to fight with Bai Tao. Moreover, Xiao Chun was constantly suppressed by Bai Tao in the sword realm. It could be said that Xiao Chun was completely overwhelmed by Bai Tao, even though they were at the same level. This was the first time Xiao Chun had ever felt something like this from someone at the same level as him. Even the evil spirits did not give Xiao Chun such a feeling. Of course, the biggest difference between the two of them was undoubtedly their comprehension. Although Xiao Chun had touched the threshold of Swordless Heart, he had not truly achieved Swordless Heart. As a result, Xiao Chun was naturally at a disadvantage in the battle with Bai Tao. When Bai Tao casually slashed with his sword, Xiao Chun had to use at least 3 swords to block it. Under this situation, Xiao Chun's energy consumption was naturally much higher than Bai Tao's. Moreover, he might be injured if he was not careful. However, as he fought fiercely with Bai Tao, Xiao Chun gradually gained a trace of understanding in his heart. He seemed to have grasped something, but he did not know how to describe it. It was a very mysterious feeling. Bai Tao also felt the change in Xiao Chun. This was the precursor to breaking through Swordless Heart. Xiao Chun had already touched the threshold of having no sword in his heart. At this moment, Xiao Chun's sword had clearly changed from before. Every slash of his sword was no longer as sharp as before. On the contrary, it was more restrained. Of course, it was not that easy to break through the level of Swordless Heart. Xiao Chun was still a step away because Xiao Chun had not truly reached the state of Swordless Heart and Selfless Self. When Xiao Chun truly forgot the swordsmanship in his mind and the sword in his heart, he would have truly broken through the Swordless Heart. But now, Xiao Chun was still a little bit away from that. Only by forgetting the swordsmanship he had learned and breaking these inherent shackles could he achieve the state of having no sword in his heart. By then, Xiao Chun would no longer need any swordsmanship. Just like Bai Tao, there was no pattern to his sword at all. It was not a swordsmanship at all. In other words, every slash of Bai Tao's sword was a swordsmanship that followed his heart. A smirk was seen in Bai Tao's eyes as he fought with Xiao Chun. However, Bai Tao did not use any killing moves from beginning to end, as he was deliberately complying with Xiao Chen's breakthrough to the level of having no sword in his heart. Most of the time, Bai Tao was like a teacher, personally demonstrating and guiding Xiao Chun to touch the threshold of the swordless heart, to comprehend the state of selflessness and selflessness. The battle between the two was not so much a challenge, but a great opportunity given by Bai Tao to Xiao Chun. Bai Tao must have done this because of the immortal demon order. Although he did not know why Bai Tao and the other three were on the immortal demon road, it must be related to Mu Lingxian. In this case, Bai Tao should value the immortal demon order very much. Xiao Chun had the immortal demon order, so he was naturally different from the others. Secondly, it was Xiao Chun himself. Xiao Chun was also a swordsman, and while he was young, he was extremely talented. He had relied on his talent in battle to reach the threshold of having no sword in his heart. Such talent made Bai Tao feel a sense of appreciation for such a talent. Because of these 2 points, Bai Tao was willing to guide Xiao Chun and was willing to give Xiao Chun such a good fortune. Of course, whether he could succeed in breaking through the swordless heart in the end would depend on Xiao Chen's own perception and talent. Bai Tao continued to exchange swords with Xiao Chun. The strength of Bai Tao's sword was just right, so that Xiao Chun could clearly feel what the swordless heart should be like. In the beginning, Xiao Chun deliberately tried to comprehend Bai Tao's sword, but Bai Tao said indifferently, "You don't have to deliberately comprehend it. The swordless heart is about the state of selflessness and selflessness. Relax your mind and let nature take its course." The swordless heart was not forcibly comprehended. One had to learn to let go of everything. After hearing Bai Tao's words, Xiao Chun also gave up on comprehending it. However, because of this, the sword in Xiao Chen's hand was getting closer to the swordless heart level. Under Bai Tao's deliberate guidance, Xiao Chun also began to transform and sublimate. In other words, Xiao Chen's swordsmanship had transformed and sublimated. Xiao Chun could no longer remember the swordsmanship in his mind. When he attacked, he could no longer follow those rules and regulations. Instead, he could do it casually. This was one of the characteristics of the swordless heart. After all, no matter how strong the swordsmanship was, there would always be a limit. And this limit was like a wall for a sword cultivator, a wall that prevented one from reaching the peak. Only by breaking this wall and walking out of the restrictions of the inherent swordsmanship could one truly complete the transformation. Without restrictions, one would be the strongest. A truly powerful sword cultivator did not need any swordsmanship, because their casual attack was enough to be regarded as the strongest swordsmanship in the world. This was what it meant to return to one's natural state. No longer bound by the restrictions of the previous swordsmanship, Xiao Chen's every attack could be said to be without any rules or regulations. It could also be said to be extremely exquisite. He gradually forgot about the swordsmanship in his heart and gradually forgot about himself. Everything was done instinctively. Feeling the change in Xiao Chun, the smile in Bai Tao's eyes deepened. He nodded slightly. Xiao Chun's progress was faster than he had expected. Now it could be said that he had already crossed the threshold of the swordless heart level. It seemed that he should give Xiao Chun some pressure so that he could really take that last half step. Thinking of this, Bai Tao slashed out with his sword. Bai Tao suppressed his cultivation to the half-step emperor realm, but he did not hold back at all. Compared to before, the power of Bai Tao's sword had increased by several times. At the same time, as the sword swept out, Bai Tao said with a smile, "Take this sword, and this battle will be considered a victory for you." Bai Tao's sword was forcing Xiao Chun to take that last half step and truly enter the threshold of the swordless heart level. It was a sword without the slightest sharpness. Facing Bai Tao's sword, Xiao Chun did not choose to dodge. At the same time, Xiao Chun did not answer Bai Tao's words, as if he did not hear him at all. Please add, please vote, please recommend. End of this chapter. Chapter 2470. In the face of Bai Tao's sword, Xiao Chun did not dodge, nor did he have any intention of replying. It was as if he did not hear Bai Tao's words at all. At the same time, when Bai Tao's sword was about to attack Xiao Chun also slashed out with his sword. Just like Bai Tao, it looked like a simple sword without the slightest power. It was not as sharp as before. However, when he saw Xiao Chun's sword, Bai Tao's eyes flashed with amazement. No sword in the heart. Xiao Chun had finally taken a last step and successfully reached the state of no sword in the heart. The two swords collided fiercely. This time, they were not directly crushed like before. On the contrary, Xiao Chun's sword and Bai Tao's sword were evenly matched. Although Bai Tao still had the upper hand, it was undeniable that Xiao Chun's sword was no longer the same as before. Looking at Xiao Chun's sword, Bai Tao nodded in satisfaction. At the same time, he became more and more interested in Xiao Chun. He had not expected this kid to be so talented. From Bai Tao's point of view, Xiao Chun had almost caught up with Mu Lingxian in all other aspects, regardless of strength and cultivation level. Who was Mu Lingxian? He was the world lord of the Hongmeng world. Back then, Bai Tao and the other three were defeated by Mu Lingxian. It could be said that Mu Lingxian had completely stepped on the four of them to become the world lord. Although he had been defeated by Mu Lingxian, Bai Tao did not have much hatred for Mu Lingxian. On the contrary, he had a trace of admiration because Mu Lingxian was indeed amazing. Bai Tao was also willing to be defeated by him. In Bai Tao's opinion, Xiao Chun was completely capable of competing with Mu Lingxian in the future. In other words, Mu Lingxian's position as the world lord was going to be challenged in the future. Bai Tao naturally did not know that Xiao Chun was not from the Hongmeng world, but from the Great Thousand World. In Bai Tao's opinion, with Xiao Chun's talent, as long as he did not die, he would definitely be able to compete with Mu Lingxian in the future. The two swords collided. In the end, although Bai Tao was slightly better and defeated Xiao Chun's sword, Xiao Chun's second sword also shattered Bai Tao's sword. Xiao Chun was able to block Bai Tao's all-out attack with just two swords. This was something that Xiao Chun would not have been able to do in the past. However, after making a breakthrough in the way of the sword, Xiao Chun had succeeded in doing so. At the same time, Xiao Chun's comprehension of the way of the sword had also risen to a whole new level. It was completely different from before. At this moment, Xiao Chun could be considered a top swordsman in the universe. Only the top group of sword cultivators could break through the swordless heart state. This was also one of the symbolic characteristics of many sword cultivators. Of course, above the swordless heart state, there was the sword principle godded state. However, that step was too difficult. Even people like Bai Tao and Qin Feng could not do it now. Although they had been immersed in the swordless heart state for many years, it was very difficult to break through to the sword principle godded state. It could even be said that there was no possibility. This was no longer something that could be achieved with talent and hard work. It was more likely that it depended on opportunity and luck. Of course, the sword principle godded state was still too far away from Xiao Chun. After all, Xiao Chun had just broken through the swordless heart state and had not had the time to completely stabilize it. Bai Tao did not continue to attack after his sword was successfully blocked by Xiao Chun. The long sword in his hand slowly dissipated as he looked at Xiao Chun with a smile. Not bad. You've won this battle. Hearing Bai Tao's words, Xiao Chun cupped his hands and bowed. Thank you for your guidance, senior. Bai Tao had indeed been guiding Xiao Chun most of the time in this battle. Without Bai Tao's guidance, it would not have been so easy for Xiao Chun to break through the swordless heart state. Therefore, Xiao Chun was still grateful to Bai Tao. In response, Bai Tao merely smiled and waved his hand nonchalantly. Don't be happy too early. I've already said earlier that if you want to pass this test, you have to defeat 2 out of the 4 of us. As for the other 3, their tempers aren't as good as mine. Xiao Chun had only defeated Bai Tao, which was not considered a real success. Xiao Chun still needed to defeat at least one more person. Bai Tao knew the tempers of the other three very well, and it was obvious that they were not as good-tempered as Bai Tao. Bai Tao reminded Xiao Chun. As soon as he finished his words, one of the remaining three golden statues began to tremble violently. Soon, cracks spread all over the statue. Then, the statue shattered and a young man who looked like Bai Tao appeared in front of Xiao Chun. The feeling he gave off was completely different from Bai Tao. This young man was wearing a purple gold robe, giving off a domineering feeling that he was looking down on the world. It was impossible for people to look at him directly. As soon as he appeared, there was an overwhelming pressure pressing toward Xiao Chun. Looking at the young man, Bai Tao laughed. Dijun, little guy, you're really unlucky. He is stubborn and will not go easy on you. While Bai Tao was speaking, Dijun had already arrived in front of Xiao Chun. He snorted and said, "You still talk so much nonsense." After saying that, he ignored Bai Tao and turned to look at Xiao Chun. He said coldly, "My name is Dijun, cut the crap. If you want to pass, you have to defeat me. But I'm not Bai Tao. I won't go easy on you. If you can't beat me, I'll definitely kill you here." After saying that, Dijun threw out a punch without giving Xiao Chun a chance to reply. The aura of the fist appeared all of a sudden, giving off a domineering aura that seemed capable of splitting the sky with a single punch. Xiao Chun reacted quickly, lashing out with his sword right away. However, when the fist and sword collided, Xiao Chun was sent flying backward. Dijun had indeed only used his half-step Emperor realm cultivation. But as Bai Tao said, Dijun was not a person who would go easy on Xiao Chun, let alone instruct Xiao Chun like Bai Tao. Dijun used his full strength right from the start. After sending Xiao Chun flying, Dijun had no intention of stopping. He took a step forward, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Unlike Xiao Chun and Bai Tao, Dijun did not have a special physique like Sword Body. Therefore, Dijun did not comprehend World Force. Naturally, he could not use World Flash. However, even without World Flash, Dijun's speed was extremely fast. Xiao Chun did not dare to hesitate and directly used Sword Realm. At the same time, he used World Flash to escape from Dijun's pursuit. Sword Body, Sword Realm at the Grand Perfection stage, World Flash. Not bad, but do you really think you're foolproof with World Flash? Dijun's expression remained unchanged after Xiao Chun successfully escaped from his pursuit. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation. End of this chapter. Chapter 2471. Finishing his words, Emperor Jun took a step forward and tore the void apart violently, disappearing from sight. Finishing his words, Emperor Jun took a step forward and tore the void apart violently, disappearing from sight. Dijun's movement was violent and direct. It was as if he had smashed the space and rushed into the void like a tyrannosaurus. Xiao Chun, who had been dodging with the Realm Flash, was stunned by Emperor Jun's actions. Xiao Chun could tell at a glance that Emperor Jun had only used his physical strength. He had not used any spiritual power at all. In other words, Emperor Jun had only relied on his physical strength to directly smash the space. He had never thought that there would be someone in the world who could do such a thing. How far had he cultivated his physical body to be able to do this? Moreover, because of Dijun's unique method and his powerful physical body, his speed wasn't slow at all even though he didn't control boundary energy and didn't know how to use boundary flash. While Xiao Chun was in a daze, Emperor Jun had appeared behind Xiao Chun and said coldly, "It's not a good habit to be distracted during a battle." Saying this, Emperor Jun directly punched Xiao Chun's back without waiting for Xiao Chun's reply. In the face of Dijun's fierce punch, Xiao Chun's first reaction was not to take it head-on. He dodged to the side and barely dodged Dijun's attack. However, Dijun did not intend to stop at all. Instead, he rushed forward and entangled Xiao Chun in an instant. Even though Xiao Chun had the boundary flash, he was completely entangled by Dijun. There was no chance for him to extricate himself. Emperor Jun was indeed different from Bai Tao. Xiao Chun also felt great pressure from Emperor Jun. His physical body, which he had always been proud of, was completely at a disadvantage in front of Emperor Jun originally. Xiao Qin's tempered battle body had broken through the fourth level of the undying realm after cultivating in the source of spiritual qi. His physical body had already reached a terrifying level. However, compared with Emperor Jun's, it was nothing. It was certain that Emperor Jun's physical body was the strongest that Xiao Chun had ever seen in his life. No one could surpass him. It was hard to imagine how Emperor Jun had cultivated his physical body to such a level. Moreover, Xiao Chun also found that Emperor Jun did not seem to have cultivated any sword principle or saber principle at all. He was fighting with his iron fists. There was no strategy to speak of in the battle at all. It was a stance of pushing all the way to the end and was completely unafraid of any head-on clashes. The pressure was huge. Unlike Bai Tao, Emperor Jun did not hold back at all. Under Emperor Jun's fierce attacks, Xiao Qin finally showed a trace of fatigue. Emperor Jun seized the opportunity and punched Xiao Qin's left shoulder fiercely. From the beginning to the end, Emperor Jun had suppressed his cultivation to the level of a half-step Emperor Realm Master. However, after being hit by Emperor Jun, a terrifying force instantly swept through Xiao Qin's body. At the same time, Xiao Qin's entire left arm was directly shattered by this force. Even with Xiao Qin's physical strength, there was no way for him to withstand Emperor Jun's blow. Xiao Qin's entire left arm was shattered. Enduring the severe pain, Xiao Chun operated his tempered battle body, and his left arm was quickly regenerated. Although such an injury was not fatal for the current Xiao Chun, it was just an ordinary punch from Emperor Jun. An ordinary punch was already so powerful, and this time it only hit his left shoulder. If Di Jun's fist had hit his chest or head, it would be hard to say what would have happened. Regenerating a severed limb. Your physical body is not bad, but it's a pity that it's still too fragile. Emperor Jun praised softly as he watched Xiao Qin's left arm regenerate. Xiao Qin's physical body was not bad. After all, there were not many people who could regenerate a severed limb, let alone someone like Xiao Chun who could recover it in an instant. It could be seen that Xiao Chun had also cultivated a powerful body refining secret art. However, Emperor Jun did not stop. He did not give Xiao Chun a chance to react at all. Obviously, he did not want to give Xiao Chun a chance to catch his breath. Facing Emperor Jun's second attack, Xiao Chun had no choice but to bite the bullet and contend with him. Xiao Chun had fully understood the difference in physical strength between the two of them, so he wisely chose not to fight Di Jun head-on. Obviously, it would be unwise for Xiao Chun to fight Emperor Jun head-on when there was such a huge gap between their physical bodies. Xiao Qin's advantage was his sword body. Xiao Chun possessed sword body, sword realm, and realm flash. It could be said that he was favored by God. On the other hand, Emperor Jun did not possess any special physique and could not comprehend the power of realm, let alone use realm flash. Therefore, this was Xiao Qin's advantage. Moreover, Xiao Chun could only use realm flash to contend with Emperor Jun. This was the only way Xiao Chun could win. Xiao Chun was very clear about this. Bai Tao smiled and nodded as he watched the two of them fighting fiercely. This guy is smart. He knows where his advantage lies. He's courting death if he goes head-on against Di Jun. Speaking of this, Bai Tao's eyes flashed with admiration as he looked at Emperor Jun. Among the four divine realm experts, Emperor Jun could be said to be an extremely unique existence. This was because Bai Tao, Fan Tian, and Xueqin all possessed special physiques and were extremely talented. Therefore, it was not strange that the three of them could become the four divine realm experts. However, Emperor Jun was different. He was very talented and did not possess any special physique. It could be said that Emperor Jun was the most ordinary existence in a vast universe. However, such a person had climbed to the peak step by step through his own efforts. In the end, he was called the four divine realm experts together with Bai Tao and the other two, becoming a legend in the primordial world. In Bai Tao's era, many people said that Emperor Jun was the weakest existence among the four divine realm experts. This was because Emperor Jun was not as talented as Bai Tao, Fan Tian, and Fan Tian. Therefore, Many people felt that Emperor Jun was the weakest among the four divine realm experts. However, Bai Tao, Fan Tian, and Fan Tian did not dare to talk about this evaluation. Even Mu Lingxian had said it personally. Emperor Jun is the weakest existence among the four divine realm experts. This is because his talent is mediocre and he does not have any special physique. However, he is also the strongest among the four divine realm experts. The weakest was also the strongest. This was Mu Lingxian's evaluation of Emperor Jun by Tao, Fan Tian, and Xueqin agreed with this evaluation. Emperor Jun was indeed worthy of the title of the four divine realm experts. Even by Tao, Fan Tian, and Xueqin did not dare to underestimate his strength. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation. Chapter 2472. Di Jun had ordinary talent and no special constitution. However, he had relied on his own efforts to become one of the four divine realm experts in the primordial world. Di Jun had ordinary talent and no special constitution. However, he had relied on his own efforts to become one of the four divine realm experts in the primordial world. Moreover, Di Jun's body was undoubtedly the strongest among the four divine realm experts. It was hard to imagine that he could cultivate his body to such an extent. It had to be known that the cultivation of the mortal body was extremely arduous. He believed that any martial artist would have a deep understanding of this. Moreover, the cultivation of the mortal body was different from other kinds of cultivation. He didn't value a martial artist's talent, but rather his perseverance. One had to suffer unbearable hardships in order to achieve something in the cultivation of the body. Perhaps this was the reason why Di Jun chose to cultivate his body. Di Jun knew clearly that his talent was too weak compared to top geniuses like Bai Tao and the others. Instead of trying his best to comprehend some profound cultivation method or martial technique, he might as well find another way to cultivate his body. It was this great perseverance that allowed Di Jun to walk his own path and reach the peak of the primordial world by relying on the body refinement Tao. Bai Tao admired Di Jun from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, Bai Tao was very satisfied with Xiao Chen's performance. Xiao Chen was very smart. He knew that his body was not as strong as Di Jun's, so he made the best choice immediately. He relied on the advantage of the realm flash to fight Di Jun. However, despite Xiao Chen's cleverness, he felt rather bitter at the moment. After all, Xiao Chen's physical body had always been his advantage when it came to being at the same level as his opponent. Even when facing the evil spirits, Xiao Chen's body was stronger than his. From the moment Xiao Chen stepped onto the martial path, Xiao Chen had never slacked on the cultivation of his body. This was especially true after he had obtained the tempered battle body. Now that he was facing Di Jun, the advantage of his physical body had disappeared. Not only had he lost his advantage, but his physical strength, which he had been proud of, had also become his weakness. This caused Xiao Chen, who had never slacked off when it came to body refinement, to feel some bitterness in his heart. His advantage had suddenly turned into a disadvantage. Such a feeling was indeed difficult to accept. However, there was no other way. Di Jun's body was indeed stronger than his. Even though Xiao Chen had successfully hit Di Jun several times with Boundary Flash, such an attack couldn't do any substantial damage to Di Jun's terrifying body. It was as if Di Jun did not care about Xiao Chen's attack at all. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. If this continued, the situation would only get worse for him. Not only could Di Jun ignore his attack, but he couldn't ignore Di Jun's attack either. To put it simply, Di Jun could withstand 10 or even dozens of Xiao Chen's attacks. However, Xiao Chen would not be able to withstand even one attack from Di Jun. Therefore, if Xiao Chen made the slightest mistake and allowed Di Jun to seize the opportunity, the outcome was very likely to be decided by a single punch. This was naturally not good news for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen understood this, and a bold plan gradually formed in his mind. He had no choice but to give it a try now that things had come to this. Xiao Chen locked his gaze on Di Jun, relying on the slight advantage of the realm flash. Xiao Qin changed his strategy and began to look for opportunities to attack Di Jun. Moreover, every time Xiao Qin attacked, his target was Di Jun's abdomen. If one observed carefully, one wouldn't notice that Xiao Qin's attack location was almost the same every time. Xiao Qin fell helpless because his attack was no threat to Di Jun. In this way, Xiao Qin could only aim at one spot and attack fiercely. Since the first attack didn't work, he would attack twice. If that didn't work, he would attack 3 or 4 times. Each time, he would aim at the same spot. In this way, no matter how strong Di Jun's body was, there would be a limit. Xiao Qin's attack target was Di Jun's abdomen. Bai Tao and Di Jun naturally saw through Xiao Qin's intention. With a faint smile on his face, Bai Tao murmured, "This guy is quite smart." Xiao Qin's attack was not enough to pose any threat to Di Jun. In Bai Tao's opinion, Xiao Qin's choice was the only way to break through Di Jun's defense. Compared to Bai Tao, Di Jun's eyes flashed with a strange light after he understood Xiao Qin's intention. He had not expected Xiao Qin to make such a choice, but he had to admit that it was the best choice. At least now, Di Jun could no longer ignore Xiao Qin's attack. Every time Xiao Qin attacked, Di Jun's attack would fall in the same spot. After a few times, Di Jun did not dare to be careless. Di Jun began to protect his abdomen, which was also a kind of affirmation for Xiao Qin's attack. Sensing Di Jun's change, Xiao Qin's confidence was greatly boosted. It seemed that he was right. Otherwise, why would Di Jun protect his abdomen intentionally? The battle continued. However, as Di Jun began to consciously protect his abdomen, Xiao Qin's attack became more difficult. Even so, Xiao Qin was still able to find an opportunity. Xiao Qin had hit Di Jun's abdomen several times. However, as time went by, Xiao Qin found that his spiritual energy was almost exhausted. On the other hand, Di Jun looked a little pale, but he was not seriously injured. This person is made of stone. I have not broken through his defense after more than 10 attacks. Di Jun's abdomen had been hit more than 10 times, but he still could not break through his defense. Now, as his spiritual energy was consumed, Xiao Qin could not successfully hit Di Jun. If this continued, he would be the one to lose. Thinking of this, Xiao Qin quickly made a crazy decision. He arrived in front of Di Jun with a realm flash. This time, Xiao Qin did not choose to attack Di Jun. Instead, he attacked Di Jun directly. Facing Xiao Qin's attack, Di Jun was stunned. However, he did not choose to dodge. Instead, he directly attacked Xiao Qin. That's right. Xiao Qin wanted to injure Di Jun at the cost of his own life. Although he would definitely be at a disadvantage, compared to the situation where he would definitely lose if the battle dragged on, there might be a miracle. The two collided head-on. Di Jun's fist hit Xiao Qin's chest. Suddenly, the sound of bones cracking was heard. Xiao Qin's sternum caved in, and he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. On the other hand, Xiao Qin stabbed Di Jun's abdomen with his long sword. This time, Xiao Qin did not hold back. His dustless sword finally pierced Di Jun's body, causing blood to gush out. Please collect, vote, recommend. In a chapter. Chapter 2473. Xiao Qin knew that he would lose if the battle dragged on, so he chose to give it his all. Although Xiao Qin's sternum had caved in and blood was gushing out of his mouth, Xiao Qin smiled and looked at the wound on Di Jun's abdomen. Xiao Qin knew that he would lose if the battle dragged on, so he chose to give it his all. Xiao Qin's sternum had caved in and blood was gushing out of his mouth, but Xiao Qin smiled and looked at the wound on Di Jun's abdomen. He had finally broken through Di Jun's perverted physical defense. Although such an injury was nothing serious to Di Jun, Xiao Qin, who knew how powerful Di Jun's body was, could not help but feel happy. Di Jun, on the other hand, was not affected much. In the end, Di Jun still lost the battle. This was probably the first time that Xiao Qin had suffered a crushing defeat in the same realm. Moreover, he did not even have the strength to fight back. Even after using all his means, he only managed to break through Di Jun's defense. Xiao Qin did not intend to attack again. It was not that Xiao Qin did not want to, but that he did not have the strength to do so. To everyone's surprise, Jun, who was injured by Xiao Chun, stopped and looked at Xiao Chun with a smile. "Good boy, you pass." Jun could have easily killed Xiao Chun, but he did not choose to do so. Xiao Chun was stunned, but before he could speak, Jun took the initiative to speak. "You've already won if you can break through my physical body." Hearing Jun's words, Bai Tao walked over with a smile and said, "Little boy, don't think too much. You should be proud of yourself for being able to break Jun's physical defense. Jun did not go easy on you. Jun did not go easy on Xiao Chun. Moreover, Jun's physical defense was the best among the 4 heavenly gods. Xiao Chun was really good for being able to break Jun's physical defense in the same realm. Therefore, Jun did not continue to attack. Although Jun and Bai Tao had suppressed their cultivation to the half-step emperor realm, which was the same realm as Xiao Chun, both of them were ancestor realm masters after all. Even if they suppressed their cultivation, they still had some advantages. Therefore, it was not easy for Xiao Chun to achieve this. Along with Bai Tao's words, a white light descended from the sky. Under the white light, Xiao Chun's injuries began to heal quickly. In less than 10 breaths of time, he had completely recovered. After recovering from his injuries, Xiao Chun's face became rosy again. He cupped his hands and bowed to Bai Tao and Jun. "Many thanks, Senior." Xiao Chun acknowledged the strength of Bai Tao and Jun. The two of them waved their hands carelessly. Jun even said bluntly, "Don't worry, Bai Tao. If you did not have the immortal demon token with you, you would have been dead by now. I don't even need to do anything." Jun glanced at Bai Tao as he spoke. His meaning was obvious. He was doing all this for the sake of the immortal demon token. Bai Tao did not refute Jun's words. Instead, he turned to look at Xiao Chun and said, "Little boy, are you a disciple of Immortal Palace? It seems that Mu Ling Xian thinks highly of you. He even gave you the immortal demon token." Hearing Bai Tao's words, Xiao Chun shook his head and said, "Senior, you misunderstand. I'm not a disciple of Immortal Palace." "Huh, you're not? Then what about your immortal demon token?" Bai Tao was stunned and asked in confusion. Since Xiao Chun was not a disciple of Immortal Palace, how did he get the immortal demon token? Would Mu Ling Xian give the immortal demon token to someone else so casually? In response to Bai Tao's question, Xiao Chun did not hide the truth. He told Bai Tao and Jun the whole story, including the fact that he was not from Hongmeng World and came from the Great Thousand World. After hearing Xiao Chun's story, Bai Tao and Jun's expressions became interesting. At the same time, the other 2 statues shook violently. Then, the other 2 divine gods, Fan Tian and Xue Qin, appeared in front of Xiao Chun. When the 2 of them appeared, they immediately looked at Xiao Chun. Obviously, the 2 of them were very interested in Xiao Chun. In other words, they were not interested in Xiao Chun, but in the Great Thousand World. People like Bai Tao and the others were already existences that stood at the peak of the primordial world. In the entire primordial world, there were very few people that could threaten them. Therefore, for a long time, the 4 of them couldn't help but feel lonely and helpless. When they heard about the appearance of another universe, the 4 of them were naturally interested. They could not wait to go to the Great Thousand World and fight with the experts of the Great Thousand World. Jun was especially excited. After all, Jun was a warmonger. After hearing about the Great Thousand World, Jun was stunned for a moment. Then, he said with a fighting spirit, "Great Thousand World? Little boy, how is your Great Thousand World? Is it a complete universe like Hongmeng World? How are the experts? Are there more of them than in Hongmeng World?" Jun asked a series of questions. Hearing this, Xiao Chun shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Senior, the Great Thousand World is indeed a complete universe like Hongmeng World. Its area is not smaller than Hongmeng World. However, compared to Hongmeng World, the martial way in the Great Thousand World can be said to be extremely withered. The strongest expert is only at the half-step ancestor realm, and no world lord has been born." Xiao Chun truthfully told Jun and the other 3 about the situation of the Great Thousand World. He was not afraid that Jun and the other 3 would have any ideas about the Great Thousand World. He could tell that the four of them did not pay much attention to these things. To put it bluntly, the reason why Jun was so eager to fight was only because he wanted to fight with the experts of the Great Thousand World. It was very simple, and he did not have any other intentions. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, a look of disappointment immediately appeared on Jun's face. So weak. Obviously, the strength of the Great Thousand World made Jun very disappointed. The strongest expert in a complete universe was only at the half-step ancestor realm. They were not on the same level at all. Given Jun's strength and cultivation, he naturally looked down on the half-step ancestor realm. With such a cultivation realm, Jun did not even want to take action. Seeing the disappointment on Jun's face, Xiao Chen paused and said, "However, I am not the only one in Hongmeng World. There is also an expert from another universe called the Great World. He is now a guest in Immortal Palace, and the World Lord of the other side has come in person." Jun and the others had been on the Immortal Demon Road, so they were naturally unaware of what had happened in the outside world. They also did not know about the appearance of the Great World. Hearing this, the four of them were taken aback. Jun looked at Xiao Chan with a face full of joy. "Boy, you're not lying, right? Is there really a world lord from another universe in Hongmeng World? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation." Chapter 2474. Hearing Xiao Chan talking about the Cloud Palace, Jun suddenly became spirited. After all, the world lord of another world had come. This was indeed something that Jun did not expect. He did not expect the outside world to be so lively. Looking at Jun's appearance, it seemed that he could not wait to go out and fight with the people of the Cloud Palace. Xiao Chun said helplessly, "Junior naturally does not dare to lie. However, for seniors, you only have a wisp of remnant soul left. Do you still want to find someone to compare notes with? Haven't you all fallen?" Looking at the appearance of Jun and the other three, Xiao Chun naturally thought that they were dead. However, hearing this, Jun was not happy and immediately said with a cold face, "Boy, who told you that I'm dead? Not dead?" Hearing Jun's words, Xiao Chun looked at Jun suspiciously. Only a wisp of remnant soul was left. He did not even have a physical body. How could he say that he was not dead? Fan Tian said with a smile when he saw the suspicion on Xiao Chen's face. "Well, this boy doesn't know about the Immortal Demon Road. It's pardonable." Hearing Fan Tian's words, Xiao Chun felt that the Immortal Demon Road did not seem to be that simple. For a long time, the Immortal Demon Road had been controlled by the Immortal Palace. To the outside world, it was only claimed that it was used to redress the grievances of the disciples who violated the sect rules. There was nothing special about it. Therefore, all along, the people of the Hongmeng world did not pay much attention to the Immortal Demon Road. However, after seeing Bai Tao and the other three, Xiao Chun always felt that it was strange. If the Immortal Demon Road was really as simple as it seemed on the surface, it would not leave behind a wisp of remnant soul. Moreover, the way to pass the first test of the illusion was very strange. Thinking of the first test of the environment, Xiao Chun was even more certain of his suspicions. At the same time, Xueqin also said with a smile, "Little guy, it seems that you also understand something. Was the first test of the environment strange?" Hearing Xueqin's words, Xiao Chun nodded in agreement. It was indeed very strange. It was not that the illusion was strange, but the method to break the illusion was somewhat strange. After successfully passing the first trial, Xiao Chen already knew that if he wanted to pass the first trial, he had to possess the Immortal Devil Token. To put it bluntly, the Immortal Devil Token was the only way to pass through the illusion. Without the Immortal Devil Token, no matter how strong one's state of mind was, as long as one's cultivation hadn't reached the Ancestor Realm, it was impossible to break through the illusion. To put it bluntly, this Immortal Demon Road didn't seem to allow people to successfully pass through. Everyone who entered the Immortal Demon Road died in the first illusion. This was because only those who made mistakes would enter the Immortal Demon Road. Who the hell would have an immortal demon order on their body. Seeing Xiao Chun nod, Xueqin and the other three smiled. Dijun also pouted and said, "This immortal demon road is not a road to redress injustice." Obviously, the world had been deceived. How could the immortal demon road be so simple? Hearing Dijun's words, Xiao Chun was even more confused. But obviously, the four didn't seem to want to explain too much to Xiao Chun. Bai Tao promptly interrupted. "Okay, let's not talk about this. Little guy, it's meaningless for you to know too much about the immortal demon road. Since you can come here and hold the immortal devil token, it's understandable that the four of us give you an opportunity." Directly skipping the matter of the immortal demon road, Bai Tao's voice fell. Beside him, Fan Tian and Xueqin nodded in agreement. Even Dijun didn't say anything, tacitly agreeing. Seeing this, Bai Tao gently pointed his finger, and a ball of golden liquid appeared in front of Xiao Chun. It looked like water, but it shone with a golden light, giving off an extraordinary feeling. Bai Tao didn't know what this golden liquid was, but he said to Xiao Chun with a smile, "Go, according to what we said before, this thing can help you break through to the Emperor realm. Just cultivate here with peace of mind." Hearing Bai Tao's words, Xiao Chun didn't say much and nodded. He then cupped his hands and thanked the four of them before entering the golden liquid. Xiao Chun sat cross-legged with his eyes closed while being enveloped by the golden liquid. His eyes narrowed slightly. At the same time, Xiao Chun felt that the golden liquid was flowing into his body of its own accord, passing through countless pores all over his body. Moreover, he didn't need to take the initiative to refine it at all. It just flowed directly in his meridians. Sure enough, it was a treasure. In the outside world, seeing Xiao Chun enter his cultivation, Fan Tian and Xueqin both looked at Bai Tao and said, "You were so generous this time. So much ancestral spirit qi, and you gave it away just like that." "Yeah, usually you are reluctant to take out even a little bit." Hearing Fan Tian and Xueqin's words, Bai Tao also said with a smile, "This little guy is good. Moreover, the Great Thousand World doesn't have a world master yet, so it's not a big deal to help him." "You really think highly of this little guy. How can it be so easy to become a world master? A complete universe would rather be empty than make up the number. If he doesn't meet the requirements, the heavens and earth won't recognize him," Fan Tian said with a smile. "Who knows, but I think it's very possible," Bai Tao replied with a smile. Xiao Chun naturally didn't hear the conversation between the four of them, but Dijun, who was beside him, said with a solemn look, "Yeah, the ancestral land is peaceful now. I guess there will be a big shuffle this time." Saying so, Dijun gently waved his hand, and a cloud of blood qi directly entered the golden liquid. Seeing Dijun's action, Bai Tao and the other two were stunned, then shook their heads with a wry smile. "You're even more generous than Bai Tao," Dijun said with a smile. The three of them knew very well that the cloud of blood qi that entered the ancestral spiritual qi was Dijun's essence blood. Dijun was a complete ancestral realm expert who specialized in refining his body, so his essence blood was extremely precious. Putting everything else aside, just Dijun's essence blood alone was enough to let Xiao Chen's physical body reach a new level. They didn't expect Dijun to be so generous. It was obvious that Emperor Jun wanted to give Xiao Chun a helping hand so that he could make great progress in his physical body. Facing the other three's shock, Dijun smiled indifferently. "I also think this little guy is good. Moreover, there hasn't been a new member in the ancestral land for a long time. If this little guy can become the world master of the Great Thousand World, it should be very interesting." While the four of them were chatting, their faces suddenly froze. After exchanging glances with each other, they disappeared from their original spots one after another. No one knew where the four of them went, but judging from their expressions, they seemed to have encountered something very important. Otherwise, their faces wouldn't have become so solemn in an instant. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendation. Chapter 2475. The four of them disappear at the same time. At the same time, Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun, who were in the outside world, also felt the summons. Lin Yun leaned against the recliner in his residence and revealed a faint smile. "These old fellows really can't sit still." Lin Yuan asked when he heard Lin Yun's words. "Big brother, is it about that side?" "Yes, don't worry about him." Lin Yun nodded. No one knew how big and vast this world was. However, many universes knew that there was a place in this world called the Origin World. It was also known as the Ancestral Land. This was the origin of the universe. It was said that the Origin World had allowed it to exist when the world was first created. As the origin of all universes, the Origin World's position in this world was naturally extremely important. Naturally, the various universes attached great importance to the Origin World. However, not every universe could be connected to the Origin World. Only the birth of a world lord was qualified to come into contact with the Origin World. Therefore, the cultivators of the vast thousand worlds never knew that there was such a place in this world. At this moment, in a corner of the Origin World, there was a simple and magnificent palace. The palace didn't look special, but the aura it emitted made people feel like they were bathing in a spring breeze. It was very comfortable. However, there were nearly 100 experts gathered in the palace. They all came from different universes. Among them, Bai Tao, Di Jun, Fan Tian, and Shuai were among them. Almost every one of them was at the Ancestor Realm Great Perfection. Bai Tao and the other three were the representatives of the primordial world. On the side of the Great World, there was a middle-aged couple who were also at the Ancestor Realm Great Perfection. These two were Lin Yun's parents, Lin Xiaotian and Zhang Jingxiang. Everyone had gathered because they had received the summons. In fact, everyone in the primordial world had a wrong understanding of the Immortal Demon Road. The Immortal Demon Road was made up by the Immortal Palace. The Immortal Demon Road only existed for one purpose, which was to connect to the Origin World. Not only did the primordial world have the Immortal Demon Road, but the Great World also had such a road that connected to the Origin World. It was built by the Origin World. Any universe that had been recognized by the Origin World would have such a path to connect to the Origin World. The martial artists of the Grand Mist world simply didn't know the secrets of the Immortal Demon Road. But at this time, the people of the various universes had gathered together. It was clear that something important was happening. It was difficult for ordinary warriors to know about the Origin World. However, after everyone had gathered and waited for a long time, an illusory figure finally appeared in the hall. His face could not be seen clearly. His entire body was shrouded in white light, giving off an illusory feeling. As soon as the figure appeared, everyone shifted their attention to her. In response, the white illusory figure spoke in a hoarse voice. "Dear emissaries, please inform the world lords to gather at the Alliance." It was a simple sentence. The illusory figure did not wait for anyone to reply as it directly disappeared. Everyone's expression changed slightly when they saw the illusory figure disappear. What was the Alliance trying to do by suddenly gathering the world lords of the various universes? Everyone present was the emissaries of the various universes in the Origin World. Under normal circumstances, the world lords of the various universes would rarely go to the Origin World. This was because the Origin World situation was a little special. If a world lord suddenly came to the Origin World, it might cause unnecessary trouble. Therefore, if there was nothing special, the world lords of the various universes would rarely appear in the Origin World. But this time, the old fellows of the Alliance had suddenly gathered the world lords. It was obviously a little abnormal. However, the old fellows had already left, so there was nothing they could do. After a moment of silence, they all disappeared from the hall. The atmosphere in the Origin World had become a little strange during this time. It seemed very calm on the surface, but in fact, there were turbulent undercurrents. Ordinary warriors might not know much about the situation in the Origin World, but the Ancestor Realm experts knew very well that the Origin World was the origin of countless universes. It was actually a turbulent place. Moreover, as the origin of the universe, the origin world could be said to control almost all the resources in the universe. This included spirit energy, mountains, rivers, and so on. To put it bluntly, the formation of the various universes was a gift from the origin world. However, such a gift was not endless. Some universes were very strong, had dense spirit energy, and beautiful mountains. These were the gifts the origin world had given them. However, some universes were very weak, had thin spirit energy, and could not even give birth to life. They were just desolate places. These universes could be identified as universes abandoned by the origin world. Therefore, the origin world was an extremely important existence to any universe. In the origin world, there were a total of 2 camps: the Alliance of the Righteous Path and the Dark Era. It was very difficult to find out how these 2 camps were formed. However, one thing was certain. These 2 camps were completely opposite. Moreover, both sides had been constantly fighting for control of the origin world. Moreover, these 2 alliances were formed by numerous universes. They were extremely powerful. Among them, the primordial world and the great world belonged to the Alliance of the Righteous Path. In this alliance, there were currently 18 universes united. In fact, there was no choice between these 2 camps. The Righteous Path cultivators would definitely join the Alliance of the Righteous Path, while the so-called Evil Path cultivators and Demon cultivators would join the Dark Era. Looking at the numerous universes in the universe, not every universe was controlled by the Righteous Path cultivators. Many universes were controlled by the Evil Path cultivators and Demon cultivators. The Evil Path cultivators and Demon cultivators could also become world lords. This was the fundamental reason why the 2 camps in the origin world were opposing each other. As the saying went, those who walked different paths could not make plans together. Therefore, the Alliance of the Righteous Path and the Dark Era had been fighting openly and secretly for countless years in the origin world in order to completely control the origin world and then dominate the entire universe. This time, the Righteous Path Alliance had suddenly called the World Masters. It was obvious that something big had happened. After leaving the origin world and returning to the immortal demon road, Bai Tao and the others frowned slightly. Among them, Brahma said indifferently. Brahma frowned and said, "I'm afraid something big is going to happen this time." "I guess so. I just don't know what it is," Xueqin said when she heard that. After hearing their words, Bai Tao looked thoughtfully at Xiao Chun, who was in the ancestral spirit Qi. For some reason, Bai Tao felt that the incident in the origin world this time might be related to Xiao Chun or the Great Thousand Worlds. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. End of chapter. Thus, to some extent, the Great Thousand World has great potential. Thus, we can't give it up easily. Just as Bai Tao had guessed, the Alliance of the Righteous Tao and the Dark Age had indeed made a big move because of the matter of the Great Thousand Domains. The Righteous Path Alliance had summoned all the world lords to the primordial world. The news was quickly sent to the world lords. In a mortal palace, after receiving the news from Bai Tao and the other 3, Mu Lingxian said with a smile, "Those old fogies of the Alliance, ha!" As the world lord of the primordial world, Mu Lingxian naturally couldn't be absent from the Alliance. After all, joining the Alliance of the Righteous Tao had given the primordial world many benefits, but at the same time, they had to bear the corresponding responsibilities. This was a very normal exchange. It wasn't just Mu Lingxian. After Lin Yin received the news, he smiled faintly and didn't say anything. In the primordial world, in the main hall of the Alliance of the Righteous Tao, there was a statue of each of the 18 world lords in the Alliance. The statues weren't big, but each of them was lifelike. At this moment, these statues, which didn't look special at all, seemed to have come to life. In fact, each of these 18 statues was engraved with countless talisman formations and was closely connected to the 18 world lords. Each world lord had their own corresponding statue, and every time the Alliance gathered, the world lords could connect to the statues through the talisman formations. This way, it was convenient for everyone, and they didn't have to go to the primordial world personally. With the arrival of the world lords, the 18 statues seemed to have come to life. Sigh, we haven't been summoned for a long time. What's the matter this time? One of the world lords said with a smile. It shouldn't be a small matter for all of us to be summoned, right? Another world lord said. The world lords chatted with each other, but they didn't have to wait for long. Accompanied by a flash of white light, the white shadow from before appeared in the main hall. Looking at the appearance of this white virtual shadow, the various world lords who were present also called out with a chuckle, "Yo, old Huang is here personally. Seems like this matter is probably very serious." The world overlords recognized the newcomer's identity immediately. The ancestral world overlord, the white phantom known as Elder Huang, no longer treated by Tao and the others as solemnly as before. After all, to put it bluntly, although Elder Huang had a high status in the Alliance of the Righteous Paths, the world lords present weren't simple characters either. It could even be said that everyone present was a legend of their generation. Their relationship with the Alliance was more of a cooperation. Everyone took what they needed, and at the same time, they also worked together to fight against the Dark Age. Hearing the teasing of everyone present, Elder Huang chuckled and said, "It's indeed not a small matter. It's about a matter called the Great Thousand World." The Great Thousand World? Hearing Elder Huang's words, Lin Yun and Mu Lingxian were stunned. Then, after Elder Huang briefly explained the matter, Mu Lingxian laughed and said, "Haha, it seems like Elder Huang doesn't know. Haha, it seems like old Huang still doesn't know." Coincidentally, there are cultivators from the Great Thousand World in my primordial world. People from the Great Thousand World were in the Hongmeng world. Hearing this, Elder Huang was stunned, but he quickly recovered and said, "If that's the case, it's much more convenient. Why don't we leave this matter to the Hongmeng world? It just so happens that Lin Yun is also in the Hongmeng world. There shouldn't be any problems with the two of you handling it." This time, the Alliance of the Righteous Path's intention was very simple. After knowing that the Dark Age had helped the Evil Path to defeat the Righteous Path warriors from the Great Thousand World, the Alliance of the Righteous Paths was prepared to support Jun Wuya and other forces from the Great Thousand World. To put it bluntly, the purpose of the Alliance of the Righteous Paths was very simple. It would be best if they could control the Great Thousand World in their hands. After all, the Great Thousand World had great potential. However, if they couldn't succeed, even if they had to destroy the Great Thousand World, they couldn't let the Dark Age get their hands on it. To put it bluntly, the Great Thousand World was just a chess piece in the eyes of the Alliance of the Righteous Paths and the Dark Age. Whether it was the Evil Path or the various forces in the Great Thousand World, they were all chess pieces in the game between the two camps. No matter who won or lost, the Great Thousand World would be the one to pay the price in the end. It wouldn't have much impact on the two camps. Therefore, Elder Huang simply handed the matter over to Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun, while the others in the Alliance didn't have any intention of doing anything. Please collect, vote, recommend. Chapter 2477. The other world masters did not object to Elder Huang's words. After all, in their eyes, they did not care about a universe that did not even have a world master. The other world masters did not object to Elder Huang's words. After all, in their eyes, they did not care about a universe that did not even have a world master. Everyone was clear about the Alliance's intention. Anyway, they could not let the Dark Age have their way. It would be best if they could protect the Great Thousand World. If they could not protect it, then they had no choice but to destroy it. However, it was not without a price for the Alliance to ask Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun to take action. They had already made an agreement when they joined the Alliance. Since the Alliance had ordered Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun to take action this time, they naturally had to give them certain benefits. Therefore, before Mu Lingxian could speak, Elder Huang had already taken the initiative to say, "This time, I will make the decision to increase the distribution of spiritual energy in the primordial world and the Great Thousand World by 10%. I will also guarantee smooth, weather for the next 10 years. Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun did not object to Elder Huang's remuneration. Mu Lingxian even nodded with a smile. All right, I will accept this. Elder Huang nodded slightly. At this point, some of the other world masters also spoke up helplessly. Hey, Elder Huang, did you gather all of us here just for such a trivial matter? A great 1,000 world master had actually gathered the 18 world masters of the Alliance. Wasn't this making a mountain out of a molehill? Elder Huang only smiled and did not say anything. The matter of the great 1,000 world was quickly settled. Perhaps even Jun Wuya and Xie Tian did not know that the battle between good and evil in the great 1,000 world had been noticed by the origin world in the end. Of course, Jun Wuya and Xie Tian probably did not even know what the origin world was. They did not even know how big the world outside the great 1,000 world was. After they were done talking, the various world lords left one after another. Very soon, the hall became lifeless again. Only the statues were still standing on the spot. After the discussion ended, Mu Lingxian slowly stood up in a mortal palace. Mu Lingxian shook his head and smiled, then disappeared. In the next second, Mu Lingxian appeared on the immortal demon road. He was still in the palace where Bai Tao and the others were. After Mu Lingxian appeared, Bai Tao and the others also appeared. Bai Tao and the others could be considered as members of Immortal Palace now. However, Bai Tao and the others usually didn't interfere in Immortal Palace's matters, and they were only responsible for guarding the origin world and the Immortal Devil Path. Seeing Mu Lingxian appear, Bai Tao was also very puzzled. One had to know that Mu Lingxian wouldn't enter the Immortal Demon Road under normal circumstances. Without keeping Bai Tao in suspense, Bai Tao briefly explained the matter of the Alliance gathering. Upon hearing that this matter was indeed related to the Great 1,000 World, a look of understanding flashed in Bai Tao's eyes. At this moment, Mu Lingxian was also looking at Lin Yun, who was cultivating in the ancestral spiritual qi. Lin Yun, who was cultivating, obviously didn't want to be disturbed. However, Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun were in a hurry to rush to the Great 1,000 World. Although it wasn't far from the primordial world to the Great 1,000 World, there wasn't much time to waste. Under normal circumstances, Xiao Chan would need a few months to refine the ancestral spiritual qi in Di Jun's essence blood. However, Mu Lingxian obviously couldn't wait for a few months. After a slight pause, Mu Lingxian said to Di Jun, who was beside him, "You're really generous. You even gave your essence blood to this kid. I think this kid is not bad." Di Jun replied with a smile. "Forget it. I'll give him a hand. After all, I don't have so much time to waste," Mu Lingxian said faintly after hearing Di Jun's words. Then he casually pointed and a green light entered the ancestral spiritual qi. Mu Lingxian did this to help Xiao Chun refine the ancestral spiritual qi faster so that Xiao Chun could come out of seclusion in the shortest time possible. After doing all this, Mu Lingxian didn't stay for long and left after saying a few words. "When this kid comes out of seclusion, tell him to come see me." He didn't know that Mu Lingxian, the world master of the Hongmeng world, had helped him. As Mu Lingxian's spirit qi entered the ancestral spiritual qi, Xiao Chan found that the speed at which he absorbed and refined it was at least 10 times faster. It was as if there was a mysterious force helping him in his cultivation. It made it easier and faster for him to absorb and refine the ancestral spiritual qi. Xiao Chun naturally didn't know what was happening in the outside world. At this moment, he didn't care about the sudden change. Moreover, the change didn't seem to have any effect on him, so Xiao Chun slowly relaxed. With the help of Mu Lingxian, Xiao Chen's cultivation speed increased by more than 10 times. After a few days, Xiao Chen's body let out a muffled sound, and he successfully broke through to the Emperor realm. In just a few days, Xiao Chun successfully broke through to the Emperor realm. However, it wasn't over yet. After breaking through to the Emperor realm, Xiao Chun didn't stop cultivating because there was still a lot of ancestral spiritual qi left. It might be enough for him to break through to another minor realm. Moreover, in addition to the ancestral spiritual qi, there was still Di Jun's blood essence that Shao Chun hadn't completely absorbed. Even so, Shao Chen's physical body had improved a lot. It could be said that he had made a qualitative leap. This cultivation was definitely a great opportunity for Shao Chun. Fortunately, he didn't give up before. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made such great progress. Shao Chun didn't have the time to think about other things. At this moment, there was only one thing in his mind, and that was to break through again and again. With such a good opportunity, Shao Chun naturally wouldn't waste it. Moreover, the ancestral spiritual qi and Di Jun's blood essence were both good things. They were treasures that didn't exist in the Great Thousand World. I can't waste anything. With this in mind, Shao Chun naturally wasn't in a hurry to come out of seclusion. Just like this, after 10 days of Mu Lingxian's arrival, Shao Chun finally finished absorbing the ancestral spiritual qi and Di Jun's blood essence. Along with it, Shao Chun's strength had improved in all aspects. His physical body had been upgraded to the grand perfection stage of the imperishable realm. In this way, Shao Chun's tempered battle body could be said to have reached the transformation stage. His cultivation had also jumped 1.5 minor realm to the Emperor realm minor realm. Originally, Shao Chun thought that it would be good enough to break through to the Emperor realm this time. However, he didn't expect that he would break through to the Emperor realm in one go. Shao Chun could tell how terrifying the ancestral spiritual qi was. It was no wonder that Fan Tian and Shui Qin were so shocked when Bai Tao took out the ancestral spiritual qi. It seemed like a short seclusion, but Shao Chun's harvest was huge. In 10 days, he broke through from the half-step Emperor realm to the Emperor realm minor realm. This was probably unimaginable in the Great Thousand World. Begging for your collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2478. The harvest from this time seclusion was even greater than Shao Chun had imagined. As Shao Chun slowly opened his eyes, Bai Tao's figure appeared in front of Shao Chun. Seeing that Shao Chun's aura was much stronger than 10 days ago, Bai Tao said with a smile. The harvest from this time seclusion was even greater than Shao Chun had imagined. As Shao Chun slowly opened his eyes, Bai Tao's figure appeared in front of Shao Chun. Seeing that Shao Chun's aura was much stronger than 10 days ago, Bai Tao said with a smile. Not bad. It seems that the harvest is not small. Thank you, Senior. Hearing this, Shao Chun cupped his hands and thanked him. In response, Bai Tao waved his hand indifferently and said, Well, it's a small matter. Since you've come out of seclusion, leave the immortal demon road as soon as possible. The palace master is looking for you for an urgent matter. Go and see him. Hearing that Mu Lingxian wanted to see him, Shao Chun didn't think much of it. After all, Shao Chun had obtained a lot of benefits from entering the immortal demon road this time. Seeing Mu Lingxian and thanking him was only right. After bidding farewell to Bai Tao, Shao Chun directly left the immortal demon road. With the immortal demon token on him, Shao Chun wasn't in any danger in the immortal demon road. After leaving the immortal demon road and returning to the Hongmeng world, Shao Chun immediately saw Gu Lingyao, Hong Xiu, and the others waiting outside. Seeing that Shao Chun had come out safe and sound, they all breathed a sigh of relief and approached him. Husband, are you all right? Gu Lingyao and the others were naturally worried about Shao Chun. In response, Shao Chun shook his head, indicating that he was fine. Seeing that Shao Chun was indeed unharmed, everyone was completely relieved. Then, Xin Yuanling was the first to discover the change in Shao Chun's cultivation. At this moment, no one could see through Shao Chun's cultivation. Xin Yuanling was pleasantly surprised. Third brother, your cultivation. Since no one could sense Shao Chun's cultivation, there was only one explanation. Shao Chun had broken through to the Emperor realm. However, how long had Shao Chun entered the immortal demon road? Less than half a month? Breaking through to the Emperor realm in half a month was too terrifying. Facing everyone's surprise, Shao Chun had no intention of hiding it. He smiled and nodded. I got some opportunities and luckily broke through. He admitted that he had indeed broken through to the Emperor realm. Hearing this, Longqing happily patted Xiao Chen's shoulder and deliberately put on the look of an elder. She praised, "Not bad, not bad. Little brother really didn't let second sister down. However, you just broke through to the Emperor realm." Longqing was also happy, so she teased Xiao Chen. However, just as Longqing was about to remind Xiao Chen not to be arrogant and complacent, Xiao Chen curled his lips and said, "Second sister, you're overthinking things. Second sister, you're overthinking things. I didn't just break through to the Emperor realm. I'm already an initial Emperor realm master." "Oh, the minor accomplishment Emperor realm? That can't be." "What? You're at the minor accomplishment Emperor realm?" Longqing looked at Xiao Chen as if she had seen a ghost. In less than half a month, he broke through from the half-step Emperor realm to the minor accomplishment Emperor realm. My God, is this something a human can do? They thought that Xiao Chen breaking through to the Emperor realm would be enough to surprise everyone. But who would have thought that not only did Xiao Chen break through to the Emperor realm, but he even broke through to the minor accomplishment Emperor realm in one go. Not only Longqing and Xinyuan Ling, but the others also looked at Xiao Chen as if they had seen a ghost. My God, what kind of opportunity did you get in the Immortal Demon Road? They were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Seeing everyone's expression, Xiao Chen also smiled slightly. Hey, little brother, do you think you're big brother and I should also go to the Immortal Demon Road? After the shock, Longqing was the first to react. She hugged Xiao Chen's shoulder and said with shining eyes, "This damn Immortal Demon Road is definitely a treasure trove." Xiao Chen's cultivation broke through from the half-step Emperor realm to the minor accomplishment Emperor realm in half a month. Then, if we go in, even if we don't break through to the Emperor realm, it shouldn't be a problem for us to reach the half-step Emperor realm, right? As soon as Longqing said this, Xinyuan Ling and the others all looked expectant. Gu Lingyao and Hong Xiu directly grabbed Xiao Chen's shoulder and said unyieldingly, "We want to go too." Everyone was happy because of Xiao Chen's breakthrough, but they also didn't want to be completely pulled apart by Xiao Chen, because if that happened, they wouldn't be able to continue accompanying Xiao Chen. However, in the face of everyone's request, Xiao Chen said helplessly, "I don't have a problem, but I don't have the final say in the Immortal Demon Road." If the Immortal Demon Road was his or the Sword Sex, Xiao Chen would never refuse everyone's request. But in fact, the Immortal Demon Road had nothing to do with him at all. Moreover, if one wanted to enter the Immortal Demon Road safely, they had to have the Immortal Demon Token. Knowing how precious the Immortal Demon Token was, Xiao Chen couldn't arbitrarily give it to everyone. Mu Lingxian was good to him, but Xiao Chen also knew that some things couldn't be overdone, otherwise it would only embarrass everyone. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, everyone didn't say anything more. In fact, they were mostly joking before. They all knew that the Immortal Demon Road wasn't a place that could be entered just because one wanted to. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xiao Chen timely said, "By the way, Senior Mu Lingxian asked me to go find him. You all go back to the Cloud Palace and wait for me. I'll be back soon." Remembering that Mu Lingxian was anxious to see him, Xiao Chen said truthfully. Hearing this, everyone agreed very straightforwardly. After all, Xiao Chen wasn't in any danger, so everyone was relieved. Then, the group left the Immortal Palace. Xiao Chen explained to the elder that Mu Lingxian wanted to see him. The elder nodded and then led Xiao Chen to Mu Lingxian's residence. They arrived at the entrance of Mu Lingxian's residence without any hindrance. Here, the elder didn't go any further, but politely said to Xiao Chen, "Little friend Xiao Chen, this old man hasn't been summoned by the palace master, so I won't go in." "Thank you, senior." Hearing this, Xiao Chen cupped his hands and thanked the elder. Just as Xiao Chen was about to step in, a young man came out from the entrance. However, when Xiao Chen saw this young man, he was stunned. Beautiful. When Xiao Chen saw this young man, his first thought was that he was beautiful. There was such a beautiful man in this world. He wasn't inferior to Qin Shiru and the other women. Although he was a man, his body was full of feminine temperament. His face was also white and flawless. Xiao Chun could only think of the word beautiful to describe the young man in front of him. Xiao Chun looked at the young man, and the young man also looked at Xiao Chun. For some reason, under Xiao Chun's gaze, the young man blushed and then shyly lowered his head. At the same time, his heart couldn't help but beat violently. What's going on? Why is my heart beating so fast? Also, who is this person? He's so handsome. It's over, it's over. I seem to have fallen in love. An indescribable throbbing arose in the young man's heart, and it couldn't be stopped. On the other side, Xiao Chun noticed the young man's change and frowned slightly. At the same time, he thought to himself in confusion, is this person crazy? The two men looked at each other. Why are you blushing? Please add, please vote, please recommend. Chapter 2479. Looking at the young man in front of him, Xiao Chun was confused. This young man was a little strange. Why was he blushing when the two old men looked at each other? Xiao Chun could not be bothered to say anything more to this person. He nodded and entered Mu Lingxian's cave dwelling. Looking at the young man in front of him, Xiao Chun was confused. This young man was a little strange. Why was he blushing when the two old men looked at each other? Xiao Chun could not be bothered to say anything more to this person. Xiao Chun nodded and entered Mu Lingxian's cave dwelling. After Xiao Chun entered Mu Lingxian's cave dwelling, the young man looked at the elder beside him and asked, "Who is this person?" "Young lord, this person is Xiao Chun from the Great Thousand World." Hearing the young man's question, the elder respectfully replied, "Since this young man could enter Mu Lingxian's cave dwelling at will, his status was naturally not low. His name was Mu Jun. He was Mu Lingxian's only son." Hearing the elder's words, Mu Jun looked in the direction of the entrance. However, Xiao Chun was nowhere to be seen. At the same time, Mu Jun softly muttered, "Xiao Chun, huh?" No one knew what Mu Jun was thinking. When he muttered Xiao Chun's name, a faint smile appeared on his face. This smile gave off a feeling of happiness. Xiao Chun did not know that Mu Jun was thinking about him. To Xiao Chun, Mu Jun was a strange person. After entering the cave dwelling, a guard quickly brought Xiao Chun to see Mu Lingxian. There was a simple wooden house at the foot of a beautiful mountain beside a lake. Mu Lingxian was leaning on a reclining chair in the wooden house. He must have known that Xiao Chun was coming. Seeing that Xiao Chun had arrived, Mu Lingxian smiled and pointed to the chair in front of him. "Have a seat." In response, Xiao Chun did not immediately take a seat. Instead, he cupped his hands and bowed to Mu Lingxian before he thanked her. "Junior thanks senior." At the same time, he handed the immortal demon token at his waist to Mu Lingxian. In this trip to the immortal demon road, Xiao Chen's harvest could be said to be incomparably huge. Although this entire matter seemed to have nothing to do with Mu Lingxian, in reality, if it weren't for Mu Lingxian's nod of approval, Xiao Chun naturally wouldn't have been able to obtain so many benefits. Therefore, it was not a big deal to thank Mu Lingxian. Plus, he was the world lord of the universe. However, Xiao Chun clearly didn't know that Mu Lingxian had secretly helped Xiao Chun. If it weren't for Mu Lingxian, Xiao Chun wouldn't have come out of seclusion in just 10 days. In response to Xiao Chen's thanks, Mu Lingxian smiled and didn't care much. He once again gestured for Xiao Chun to take a seat. Then, Mu Lingxian spoke indifferently. "Xiao Chun, this time I called you here for a reason. The battle between good and evil in the Great Thousand World has attracted the attention of some people. Therefore, people from other universes are likely to take action." He didn't tell Xiao Chun about the origin world. After all, whether it was Xiao Chun or the Great Thousand World, they weren't qualified to come into contact with the origin world. Mu Lingxian only said that experts from other universes were preparing to intervene in the battle between good and evil in the Great Thousand World. Hearing this, Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. Seeing this, Mu Lingxian paused for a moment and then sat up straight. His expression became more serious as he said, "There are countless universes in the universe. There are countless universes in this world. However, among these universes, there are strong and weak ones. The strong ones are like the Hongmeng world and the macro world, as well as the universes that gave birth to the world lords. As for the weak ones, they can't even give birth to life. The Great Thousand World can only be considered as a mid-low existence among these universes. However, the Great Thousand World has a complete set of rules of heaven and earth. At the same time, it has Tenzu. Therefore, it has great potential. If a world master is born in the future, it will definitely grow into a powerful universe like the Hongmeng world. It's also because of the great potential of the Great Thousand World that some universes have affirmed it. You should know that among the countless universes, not all of them are controlled by righteous warriors. In many universes, the world masters are evil warriors and demonic cultivators. Therefore, these people have set their eyes on the Great Thousand World and are preparing to intervene in the battle between good and evil in the Great Thousand World. Mu Lingxian briefly told Xiao Chen what had happened. Of course, he had erased the origin world. Xiao Chen's face turned grave when he heard what Mu Lingxian had said. It seemed a little difficult to deal with people from other universes interfering in the affairs of the Great Thousand World. After all, if a universe like the Hongmeng world were to intervene, the macro world would find it difficult to resist. There was no need for a world master to take action personally. Just a few Ancestor Realm experts under him were enough to deal with the Great Thousand World. Seeing Xiao Chen's grave expression, Mu Lingxian said, "However, you don't have to worry. I've discussed it with Lin Yun. The Hongmeng world and the macro world will also send people to the Great Thousand World to support. Therefore, the situation isn't too bad. I asked you to come this time to inform you to prepare as soon as possible and return to the Great Thousand World. The Hongmeng world and the macro world were going to help the Great Thousand World?" Hearing this, Xiao Chun obviously didn't expect this. What was the purpose of these two macro worlds helping the Great Thousand World? What benefits could they gain? Xiao Chun looked at Mu Lingxian, and Mu Lingxian explained simply, "Don't think too much. I've already said that the Great Thousand World has great potential. Therefore, Lin Yun and I don't want to see the Great Thousand World become a universe controlled by evil warriors. It's that simple." The reason for this was very simple. Xiao Chen didn't stay too long at Mu Lingxian's place. In the end, Xiao Chen agreed with Mu Lingxian to leave the next day and then left the Immortal Palace. The Hongmeng world and the macro world's assistance was good news for Xiao Chen. However, in addition to the Hongmeng world and the macro world, it seemed that people from other universes had also intervened in the battle of the good and evil in the Great Thousand World. This made Xiao Chen a little depressed. With so many universes intervening in the battle of the good and evil in the Great Thousand World, it obviously made the situation more complicated. Moreover, it also made the battle more difficult to control. Unexpectedly, the battle of the good and evil in the Great Thousand World had attracted the attention of other universes. This was something that Xiao Chun didn't expect at all. However, it was fortunate that Xiao Chun had come to the Hongmeng world by chance this time. Otherwise, if he had stayed in the Great Thousand World, Xiao Chun reckoned that there was such a vast world outside the Great Thousand World, as well as so many powerful people. If he didn't know about this, and the powerful people from other universes suddenly came to the Great Thousand World, the consequences would be unimaginable. This was like looking at the sky from the bottom of a well, and the consequences would definitely not be good. Xiao Chun pondered all the way back from the Immortal Palace to the Cloud Palace. In his residence, he saw Gu Lingyao, Long Qing, Xin Yuanling, and the others who had returned first. Seeing Xiao Chen's thoughtful look, Long Qing asked curiously, "Little brother, what's wrong? Why do you look so sad? Did something happen?" Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2480. In the face of Long Qing's inquiry, Xiao Chun did not hide anything and told everyone what Mu Lingxian had told him. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, everyone fell silent. In the end, it was Xiao Chun who spoke first. In the face of Long Qing's inquiry, Xiao Chun did not hide anything and told everyone what Mu Lingxian had told him. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, everyone fell silent. In the end, it was Xiao Chun who spoke first. "Now, things are completely out of our control. From the internal affairs of the great thousand world, it has become a game between the other great cosmoses. There's no other way. Let's take it one step at a time. The other great cosmoses had intervened in the battle between good and evil in the great thousand world. Things had developed to this stage. As Xiao Chan had said, this was no longer something they could decide. Even Jun Wuya and Xie Tian could not control anything now. Hearing this, everyone nodded helplessly. However, there was also a good thing. The Great World and the Hongmeng world at least intended to help. As for the rest, they could only leave it for later. On the same day, Xiao Chun naturally went to see Lin Yun. Similarly, Lin Yun and Xiao Chun also talked about helping the Great Thousand World and agreed to set off tomorrow with Lin Yun. Just as Xiao Chun was meeting Lin Yun on the other side, in Mu Lingxian's residence in Immortal Palace, Mu Jun found his father and spoke with a serious expression. I also want to go to the Great Thousand World. Hearing Mu Jun's words, Mu Lingxian frowned slightly. Looking at his son, who was more good-looking than a girl in front of him, Mu Lingxian said helplessly, "What are you going to do?" "I like Xiao Chun. It's love at first sight," Mu Jun replied without hesitation. Hearing this, Mu Lingxian spat out all the tea he had just drunk. As his own son, Mu Lingxian had naturally trained Mu Jun since he was young. Mu Jun had lived up to expectations, showing great talent for cultivation from a young age. This made Mu Lingxian very happy. However, talent was one thing. Mu Jun had one thing that gave Mu Lingxian a headache, and that was his sexual orientation. To put it bluntly, this Mu Jun was a homosexual. Mu Lingxian had thought of many ways to deal with this matter, but none of them worked. She had even arranged a marriage for Mu Jun, but it was ruined by this brat in the end. Hearing Mu Jun say that he liked Xiao Chun, Mu Lingxian's mood could be imagined. The corner of his mouth twitched, and then he coldly spat out a word, scram. Mu Lingxian never thought that he, the dignified world lord of the universe, would have a son who had the same interests as Xiao Chun. It was simply too much. He didn't know that he had been remembered. Early the next morning, Xiao Chun and the others arrived at the main square of the Immortal Palace early. Yesterday, they had agreed with Mu Lingxian and Lin Yun that they would leave for the Great Thousand World today. They arrived at the Immortal Palace with the people of the Cloud Palace. This time, Lin Yun didn't arrange many people to go to the Great Thousand World, only a few people, including Lin Yun's daughters, Lin Feng and Lin Shui. Of course, these two brats took the initiative to ask to go to the Great Thousand World. After all, young people were indeed full of curiosity about the unknown world. After thinking about it, Lin Yun didn't refuse and agreed. In addition to Lin Feng and Lin Shui, there were two palace masters of the 9 palaces above the clouds, Lin Hu and Lin Yuan. Xiao Chun wasn't familiar with these two people. When everyone arrived at the main square of the Immortal Palace, Gong Nan Tian and another palace master of the Immortal Palace also arrived quickly. The two of them were also accompanying Xiao Chun to the Great Thousand World this time. Xiao Chun knew Gong Nan Tian, and the beautiful woman who came with Gong Nan Tian was called Yu Luo, and she was also an ancestor. This time, Lin Yun and Mu Lingxian had obviously discussed about supporting the Great Thousand World. The Immortal Palace and the Cloud Palace each sent 2 ancestors, a total of 4 people. Although there weren't many people, their strength was enough to advance. With the overall strength of the Great Thousand World, 4 ancestors were enough to sweep everything. On the side of the Immortal Palace, in addition to Gong Nan Tian and Yu Luo, there was another person. It was the young master of the Immortal Palace. Mu Jun, seeing this young man again, who was more beautiful than a woman, Xiao Chun didn't know why, but he felt his scalp tingle. Because after everyone appeared one after another and greeted him one after another, Mu Jun's eyes never left him, and his expression was very strange, which made Xiao Chun feel puzzled. Being stared at by someone was naturally not a good feeling. At this time, Lin Feng whispered to Xiao Chun, "Brother Xiao Chun, this guy is called Mu Jun, the young master of the Immortal Palace, the only son of Mu Lingxian. But why do I feel that he is looking at you like he is no match for you?" Lin Feng's character was good, and he was the kind of person who liked to be familiar with people. Hearing this, Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly, thinking, I can also see that something is wrong, but what can I do? Is there something wrong with my face? Xiao Chen had thought that Mu Jun was crazy from the very beginning. Lin Shui, who was standing beside him, also chimed in when she heard her brother's words. That's right. The way he looks at brother Xiao Chen is a little strange. Love? Love my ass. How can two grown men love each other? Xiao Chen was speechless, but as the three of them were talking, Mu Jun also walked up to them. Mu Jun naturally knew Lin Feng and Lin Shui, but at this time he directly ignored them and stared at Xiao Chen. Just as the three of them were feeling depressed, Mu Jun finally spoke, looking at Xiao Chen and saying in a clear voice, Xiao Chen, I like you, the kind of love at first sight. Hearing Mu Jun's words, Lin Feng and Lin Shui immediately looked like they wanted to vomit blood. What was going on? Mu Jun's confession came so suddenly that it caught them off guard, and they weren't prepared for it all. Along with Mu Jun's words, Xiao Chen's expression changed, and Gu Lingshue's and the other two's faces sank. This guy likes my husband? Knowing Mu Jun's identity, even though Xiao Chen felt helpless, he still forced himself to explain. Brother Mu Jun, I'm a man. Is this guy blind? Two men, and you want to play love with me? But after hearing Xiao Chen's words, Mu Jun said with a serious face, I know, but who said there can't be love between men? Xiao Chen, I like you. Also, don't call me brother. You can call me darling, wife, madam. Anything is fine. PFFF. PFFF. After hearing Mu Jun's words, Xiao Chen suddenly felt like vomiting blood. Darling, wife, madam, big brother, are you sure you're serious? Looking at Mu Jun in front of him, Xiao Chen finally understood that this young master of a mortal palace was actually gay. While Xiao Chen was speechless, on the other side, Gongnan Tian and Yu Luo, who were talking to Lin Hu and Lin Yuan, also looked embarrassed. Seeing Lin Hu and Lin Yuan looking at Mu Jun, Gongnan Tian laughed out loud. Haha, that's just a joke. My young master likes to joke, don't take it to heart. Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2481. As the young master of a mortal palace and Mu Lingxian's only son, Mu Jun's every move could be said to represent the entire immortal palace and his father's face. Gongnan Tian felt humiliated when he heard Mu Jun confessing to Xiao Chen so openly. As the young master of a mortal palace and Mu Lingxian's only son, Mu Jun's every move could be said to represent the entire immortal palace and his father's face. Gongnan Tian felt humiliated when he heard Mu Jun confessing to Xiao Chen so openly. At the same time, Gu Lingyao shouted angrily at Mu Jun, Go away. My husband will like you. You're a grown man. Don't you know shame by saying such things? Tui. Gu Lingyao couldn't care less about that. Besides, this matter was related to Xiao Chen, so she couldn't hold it in any longer. Tui, you bitch. How dare you try to steal my husband from me? Get lost. Gu Lingyao stood in front of Xiao Chen and stared at Mu Jun. She was like an old hen protecting her chicks. Standing in front of Xiao Chen and staring at Mu Jun, Xiao Chen was speechless at Gu Lingyao's reaction. Lingyao, you didn't expect your love rival to be a man one day, did you? Mu Jun didn't back down after hearing Gu Lingyao's words. Sister, have you heard of this saying? What saying? True love is between the same sex. So, you can step aside now. I will take good care of Xiao Chen in the future. I will make him. True love is between the same sex? Who the F***CK said that? Are you listening to a human? However, before Mu Jun could finish speaking, Gongnan Tian had appeared behind Mu Jun and covered his mouth. Then, he said to everyone with an embarrassed smile, It's fine. Haha, young master drank too much last night. Don't take his words to heart. It's almost time. Let's set off as soon as possible. As he spoke, Gongnan Tian pulled Mu Jun away without any explanation. What a joke. If this fellow said a few more words, then Immortal Palace's face would be completely lost. The glorious Immortal Palace young master was actually gay. If news of this got out, who would be in trouble? Mu Jun could only whimper. Naturally, Mu Jun had no power to fight back against Gong Nantian. He could only look at Xiao Chun unwillingly. However, his eyes seemed to be saying, "Baby Xiao Chun, wait for me. I will come for you again." Seeing Mu Jun being dragged away by Gong Nantian, Xiao Chun was speechless. Everyone boarded the spatial spirit boat together. On this trip to the Great Thousand World, Xiao Chun and the others did not take their own spatial spirit boat. Instead, they took Immortal Palace's spatial spirit boat. The spatial spirit boat provided by the Immortal Palace was much larger than Xiao Chen's spatial spirit boat, and its speed was also much faster. It was also much stronger in other aspects. Everyone boarded the spatial spirit boat, while Mu Jun was locked in a room by Gong Nantian. "Don't come out and make a fool of yourself. It's simply too embarrassing." They directly set off for the Great Thousand World. As for Lin Yun and Mu Lingxian, they did not show up at all. What a joke! A Great Thousand World did not know that the World Master had taken action. Xiao Chun and the others embarked on the journey back to the Great Thousand World. On the other side, the war in the Great Thousand World was still ongoing. Although the Great Thousand World side had taken down Leaping Tiger City and Tomb City, the Evil Path side was still very strong and had been entangled with the Great Thousand World. The battle was still difficult to determine the winner, and the casualties on both sides were getting more and more serious. However, on this day, the Evil God Palace attracted a group of uninvited guests. This group of people came from outside the Great Thousand World. They were from another universe who planned to intervene in the war between the good and evil in the Great Thousand World. There were a total of 7 people in the group, and the 3 leaders were all Ancestor Realm Masters. The other 4 were all Emperor Realm Masters. They all came from a universe called the Great Demon World. The force in the depths was called the Demon Abyss, and its sect master was the World Master of the Great Demon World. The Great Demon World was a universe controlled by demon cultivators. In the Great Demon World, demon cultivators were the masters and righteous path cultivators were existences that everyone hated. The 3 leaders were 2 men and 1 woman. The 2 men were called Mo He and Mo Chi, and the woman was called He Yang. The 3 of them were all Ancestor Realm Masters. When the 3 of them had just arrived in the Great Thousand World and appeared in the Evil God Palace, Xietian had overestimated himself and attacked. However, the result was obvious. He was directly suppressed by Mo Chi. At this time, in the main hall of the Evil God Palace, Missouri, he, and the other 2 were sitting on the main seats, while Xietian, evil spirits, and the other evil sovereigns of the Evil God Palace were respectfully standing on the lower seats. They had already learned about the outside universe from Mo, he, and also understood that the Great Thousand World was just one of the many universes. After learning this fact, Xietian and the others didn't know how to describe their feelings. After all these years, they had thought that their horizons had broadened, but who would have thought that they were still frogs in a well? The Great Thousand World was only one of the tens of thousands of universes, and it was considered one of the weaker universes. It couldn't compare to the Great Demon World at all, especially after seeing the strength of Herculean Mo's group. Xietian couldn't resist at all. He was a little nervous in his heart, but at this time, Mo, he who was sitting in the middle, spoke in a calm voice. "This Great Thousand World is really weak. It is indeed very weak, but as Sect Master said, it has great potential. Moreover, this is Ji Yuan's order, so we can't ignore it." He Yang on the side spoke in a calm voice. Of the 3 of them, Mo, he was clearly the one in charge, and he was the strongest. He was on the same level as Lin Yuan and Gong Nantian, being in the Ancestor Realm Perfection Realm. Hearing He Yang's words, Mo, he gave a slight nod, acknowledging his words. Then his eyes slowly swept over Xietian's group. Faced with Mo, he's gaze, Xietian's group felt like they were being dragged into hell, and their backs couldn't help being covered in cold sweat. As demonic cultivators, the feeling Mo, he, and the others gave people was completely different from Gong and Tian's group. They had the same cultivation, but Mo, he, and the others weren't as approachable as Gong and Tian's group. Cold, dark, and terrifying. This was the first feeling Mo he and the others gave Xiation's group. His eyes swept over Xiation and the others. Finally, under the pale faces of Xiation and the others, Mo he slowly spoke. This one's intention is very simple: to help you end this so-called war between good and evil and allow your evil god palace to truly rule the great thousand world. Mo he calmly spoke. Hearing this, Xiation was stunned and looked at Mo he in disbelief. Xiation naturally didn't doubt the strength of Mo he and the others. If Mo he and the others really wanted to help him, there was no need to doubt it. The great thousand world couldn't stop them. He was a little excited, but at the same time, he was a little doubtful. For people like Mo he and the others to suddenly come to the great thousand world and help the evil god palace, it was impossible for them to not have a goal. However, what could the three of them fancy in the great thousand world? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2482. Xiation did not believe that Hermit Mo's group of three would help the evil god palace for free. Facing Xiation's gaze, Hermit Mo spoke with a cold smile. Xiation did not believe that Hermit Mo's group of three would help the evil god palace for free. Facing Xiation's gaze, Hermit Mo said with a cold smile, "You're not too stupid. At least you have some brains. You're right, this one naturally can't help for free. Although there are some reasons this one can't tell you. After this one helps you control the large world, the evil god palace must follow the arrangements of my demon abyss." Hermit Mo's words were very direct. Hearing this, Xiation let out a sigh of relief. It was good that there was a request. Although Hermit Mo did not say it clearly, Xiation already knew the request. To put it bluntly, Hermit Mo was helping the evil god palace defeat the large world, becoming the ruler of the large world. In the future, the evil god palace would become a subordinate sect of the demon abyss, or the entire large world would submit to the great demon world. A universe swallowing another universe. The large world was not smaller than the great demon world, but there was a large difference in strength between the two sides. This seemed like an unreasonable request, but could Xiation reject it? It was clear he couldn't. With Hermit Mo's personality, as long as Xiation dared to say no, the evil god palace could say goodbye to this world. Without any hesitation, Xiation cupped his hands and said, "This junior will follow your orders." Facing Hermit Mo, Xiation called himself a junior. Seeing this, Hermit Mo gave a slight nod and said, "You're considered smart. Since it's like this, the others can leave. You father and son come with me." After letting Purple Snake, Yin Tong, and the others leave, Hermit Mo's group of three led Xiation and the evil spirit's father and son to a cave in the depths of the evil god palace. This place had already been taken over by Mo and the other two. It could be considered their residence for the time being. Along the way, they arrived at a cave within the cave. This place was somewhat different from before. There were two small blood ponds. The ponds were filled with a mysterious red liquid that had already turned black. At the same time, a fishy stench constantly wafted out from the ponds. He didn't know what these two blood ponds were for, but it was clear that they were created by Mo he. First looking at Xiation, Mo he softly said, "Your talent isn't bad, but it's a pity you're a bit old. You're currently in the half-step ancestor realm, so this one can help you break through to the ancestor realm. However, you'll only be like this for the rest of your life. At most, you'll enter the ancestor realm, and it'll be hard for you to make any further progress." Xiation was at most in the ancestor realm, but Xiation was not disappointed at all. Rather, he had a look of excitement. He didn't know how many years he had been stuck in the half-step emperor realm, but now that he heard that he had a chance to break through to the ancestor realm, how could Xiation not be excited? As for being unable to advance for the rest of his life, Xiation didn't care at all. To be honest, if he didn't have Amohi's help, Xiation wasn't certain if he could break through to the ancestor realm or stay in the half-step ancestor realm. With a look of joy on his face, Xiation cupped his hands in thanks. He didn't say anything about this and just turned to look at the evil spirits. Facing the evil spirits, a smile appeared on He's face, and his attitude became a bit gentler. You're stronger than your father, and you're still young. This one will help you break through to the Emperor realm this time, so you can't slack off in the future. When this matter is over, this one will bring you to the great demon world. Are you willing? I'm willing. Hearing this, the evil spirits didn't even think about it before nodding. It was clear that he had high hopes for the evil spirits and planned to seriously nurture them. He didn't even hesitate to bring the evil spirits to the great demon world and the demon abyss. Upon hearing Phantasm's answer, he nodded. Then he pointed at the two blood pools and said, "Go." Hearing he's voice, Xietian and the evil spirit's father and son jumped into the blood ponds. As soon as they entered the blood ponds, the evil spirits felt pure blood chi enter their bodies. This kind of rich and pure blood chi was something the evil spirits had never felt in their lives. It was hard to imagine that there was such a rich and pure blood chi in this world. However, with the help of this blood chi, the evil spirits' cultivation kept increasing, and they were filled with confidence in breaking through to the Emperor realm. It was different from the evil spirit's blood ponds. In Xietian's blood ponds, other than the rich and pure blood chi, he had also used some special methods and secret techniques to help Xietian break through to the ancestor realm. The father and son situation was different. Xietian didn't need any help. As long as he had enough blood chi, he could break through to the Emperor realm on his own. But Xietian couldn't. With Xietian's own strength, it was very difficult for Xietian to break through to the ancestor realm, so he could only rely on some external forces to help Xietian break through to the ancestor realm. This was a bit like pulling up seedlings to help them grow. He had said that he could help Xietian break through to the ancestor realm, but from now on, it would be difficult for Xietian to make any progress. The father and son pair were in secluded cultivation in the blood ponds. On the other side, Chi, and He Yang, who had left the cave, were also walking. When do we make a move? Chi asked He. Facing Chi's question, he indifferently said, "There's no need to rush. A small great thousand world is as easy as stretching out a hand. Let the father and son pair break through first." Zhe, you really are extravagant. To help Xietian break through, you even took out your own blood essence. Hearing this, He Yang on the side laughed. Although she was laughing, He Yang clearly didn't agree with He's actions. In her opinion, how could a waste like Xietian be worth Missouri, he taking out his blood essence to help him break through? However, he didn't care about this at all, as he said, the Great Thousand World will need someone to manage it in the future, and Xietian is the best choice. We can't stay here forever. Moreover, after absorbing my blood essence, Xietian won't have any ability to resist in the future. When the time comes, if I want him to live, he will live. If I want him to die, he will die. Life and death will be in my hands. He naturally had a trick up his sleeve. Hearing this, He Yang didn't say anything else. Since he had already thought of everything. What else could she say? When he's group of 3 arrived at the Great Thousand World, on the other side, Xiao Qin's group had already entered the spatial black hole. With Gong Nantian leading the way, entering the spatial black hole this time was much easier. However, inside the spatial black hole, Xiao Chun, Lin Yuan, Lin Hu, Gong Nantian, and Yu Luo were sitting together and speaking the truth. 4 seniors, the spatial black hole of the Great Thousand World is in a small Great Thousand World called the Heaven Awakened World. However, the spatial channel connecting the Heaven Awakened World and the Great Thousand World is in the evil God Palace's sphere of influence. This means that once we arrive in the Great Thousand World, we will be in the enemy's territory. Begging for a monthly vote, begging for a recommendation. Chapter 2483. Lin Yuan explained the situation in the Heaven Awakened realm to the 4 of them. Hearing this, the 4 of them didn't care too much. Lin Yuan even said domineeringly, "That's good. We can directly destroy them." As soon as they entered the Great Thousand World, they had fallen into enemy territory. This should have been a troublesome matter, but Lin Yuan had turned it into a good opportunity to destroy them. Hearing this, the corners of Gong Nanshan's mouth twitched. This lunatic is here again. What's wrong with the people from the Cloud Palace? Why are their brains wired differently from normal people? If it were anyone else, they would probably find it troublesome. But when it came to the Cloud Palace, it became an opportunity. Could it be that the Cloud Palace's previous battles were all based on the fact that they were surrounded before they fought? Gong Nantian already had some understanding of the people from the Cloud Palace. However, in his opinion, the people from the Cloud Palace were all crazy. None of them were normal. If they weren't battle maniacs, they were lunatics or some kind of lecherous Taoist priest. It wasn't just Gong Nantian. Xiao Chun was also speechless. He wanted to say, "Senior, this isn't the main point of this matter, right? I told you to be careful. Why are you so excited?" However, Lin Yuan didn't care about the changes in Gong Nantian and Xiao Chun. After saying that, Lin Yuan stood up and left. "It's decided then. First, we'll take down the Heaven Awakened realm. Then, we'll directly destroy the Evil God Palace." Hearing Lin Yuan's words, Xiao Chun was stunned. However, after coming back to his senses, he couldn't help but ask, "Senior, what about the experts from the other universes? Aren't they coming to reinforce the Evil God Palace?" With Lin Yuan's strength, there was no doubt that they could destroy the Evil God Palace. However, weren't there experts from the other universes who were going to reinforce the Evil God Palace? What about them? This was what Xiao Chun was most worried about. However, Lin Yuan said indifferently, "We'll just destroy them together." After saying that, Lin Yuan left, leaving Xiao Chun alone in the wind. "It's that simple? I'm not well educated. Senior, you're not lying to me, right?" Looking at Lin Yuan's back, Xiao Chun didn't know if he had become timid or if the world had changed somehow. He glanced at Gong Nantian, who also looked helpless. Seeing this, Gong Nantian smiled and said, "The people of the Cloud Palace are all crazy. Don't worry about them. Come, Xiao Chun, let's make a plan." Hearing Gong Nanshan's words, Xiao Chun was overjoyed. "That's right. Everything needs a plan. I finally met a normal person." From Xiao Chun's point of view, there was only one strategy for Cloud Palace, especially for Lin Yuan and Lin Hu, and that was to be reckless. No matter who the enemy was, there was only one strategy for me, and that was to be reckless. Along with Xiao Chun were the brothers Lin Feng and Lin Shui, as well as Mu Jun, Xiao Chen's ultimate admirer. Lin Feng and Lin Shui were itching to fight, but the two siblings weren't weak. Lin Feng's cultivation was already at the lower Emperor realm, the same as Xiao Chun, while Lin Shui was slightly weaker, only at the half-step Emperor realm. However, in the Great Wide World, the strength of the two siblings could be said to be at the top. This was the difference between the Great Wide World and a powerful universe like the Great Wide World. In addition to Lin Feng and Lin Shui, Mu Jun's cultivation couldn't be underestimated. Like Lin Feng and Xiao Chun, Mu Jun's cultivation was also at the lower Emperor realm. Seeing Xiao Chun attack, Mu Jun didn't hesitate at all. She also took a step forward and chased after Xiao Chun. "Darling, don't be afraid. I'm here to help you." "Hey, shameless. Who are you calling, darling?" "Shut up." Hearing Mu Jun's words, Gu Lingyao immediately couldn't take it anymore. She put her hands on her hips and shouted angrily. She thought that one day she would definitely kill this dog who dared to steal her husband. As for Gong Nantian and Yu Luo, they covered their faces with disgust, as if they were too ashamed to face anyone. What a sin! How did a mortal palace have such a young master? Look at the young master of Yin Palace, and then look at their own young master. Sigh, Palace Master, why don't you consider having another child while you're still young? Begging for collection, begging for monthly votes, begging for recommendations. Chapter 2484. With Xiao Chun, Lin Feng, Lin Shui, and Mu Jun attacking, the result was obvious. Although there were more than a dozen evil cultivators on starships, they were basically wiped out without being able to put up any resistance. With Xiao Chun, Lin Feng, Lin Shui, and Mu Jun attacking, the result was obvious. Although there were more than a dozen evil cultivators on starships, they were basically wiped out without being able to put up any resistance. Xiao Chun, Lin Feng, and Mu Jun were all Emperor Realm masters, and their strength was probably not weaker than Dao Xiong and the others in the Great Thousand World. With the three of them attacking at the same time, how could these evil cultivators resist? The victory of the battle didn't bring much joy to the crowd. Not only was this an expected result, but the evil path cultivators were just a bunch of ants. They didn't even have an end realm cultivator. Just as the battle ended, before Xiao Chun had time to react, she felt someone hugging her from behind. Then, Mu Jun's feminine voice sounded. "Oh dear, we won." Hearing this voice, Xiao Chun only felt his entire body tremble. He could not help but shudder. Gu Lingyao, Tian Yue, and Hong Xiu hurried to Xiao Chun's side. Gu Lingyao even pulled Xiao Chun behind her with a face full of displeasure as she shouted coldly. "Bah, shameless. Let me tell you, stay away from my husband in the future." Gu Lingyao's hostility towards Mu Jun was boundless, but Mu Jun didn't care about it all. He just smiled faintly. "Ignorant girl, I told you before. Only the same sex is true love. Dear, one day, I will make you fall in love with me." After saying that, Mu Jun blew Xiao Chun a kiss, then turned around and left. Seeing this, Xiao Chun looked like she had nothing to live for. She secretly said in her heart, "Don't worry, that day won't come." Returning to the battleship, the group set off once more. This time, the plan was simple. According to Lin Yuan, they were going to attack the root of the problem. They didn't care about anything else as long as they killed their way to the evil god palace and annihilated it. Although Xiao Chun didn't agree with Lin Yuan's reckless fighting style, he couldn't do anything about it. After all, his words carried little weight. Moreover, Lin Yuan had a one-track mind. Let alone him, he wouldn't even listen to Nan Gongguan's words. Every time Nan Gongguan wanted to discuss the next plan with Lin Yuan only had one answer, and that was to fight. "If you win, I'll listen to you." In response to this, Nan Gongguan was so angry that she snorted and glared at him. "What the F***ck are you talking about? Why would I fight with you? Are you crazy?" Or was he bored out of his mind? As a result, no one could do anything about Lin Yuan. Nan Gongguan sighed helplessly. "AI, an ordinary man isn't worth our time." There was nothing they could do about it. They could only follow Lin Yuan's instructions and charge forward recklessly. As for the result, they would leave it to the heavens. At worst, they could just sell Lin Yuan. Nan Gongguan was worried about the experts from the other universes. They didn't know how many people they had or how strong they were. If they charged forward recklessly, everything would be fine if they won. But what if they lost? Forget it. Let this madman do as he pleases. If things go wrong, I'll sell Lin Yuan without hesitation. This was Nan Gongguan's decision. Naturally, Xiao Chun had no choice but to follow orders. The group headed straight for the entrance of the Heaven Awakened realm. Along the way, they killed anyone they encountered. With the forces the evil god palace had left in the Heaven Awakened realm, it was naturally impossible for them to stop Xiao Chen's group. Even the evil path cultivators who were in charge of guarding the entrance of the Heaven Awakened realm were easily dealt with by Xiao Chen's group. News of what happened in the Heaven Awakened realm didn't reach the evil god palace so quickly. After all, the evil god palace didn't pay much attention to a small thousand world like the Heaven Awakened realm. On the other side, Xietian and the evil spirit's father and son had been in seclusion for almost half a month. On this day, the evil spirits were the first to come out, their cultivations finally breaking through to the Emperor realm. In the main hall, the evil spirits who had successfully broken through were summoned by Emohi. Looking at the evil spirits who had successfully broken through, Emohi smiled and nodded. "Not bad. You broke through in half a month. You didn't disappoint me." "Many thanks, Senior." Hearing this, the evil spirits respectfully cupped their fists and thanked him. Emohi was very optimistic about the evil spirits. The evil spirits' talent could be considered top-notch even in the demon abyss. There weren't many people in the demon abyss who could surpass the evil spirits in terms of talent. Emohi truly cherished talents. However, at that moment, Yin Tong hurriedly walked into the main hall and said to Emohi, "Senior, something happened in the Heaven Awakened realm." Xiao Qin's group had killed their way back to the Great Thousand World from the Heaven Awakened realm and then headed straight for the Evil God Palace. Naturally, the people of the Evil God Palace knew about this. Of course, this was also because Lin Yuan didn't hide anything in his heart. In any case, he was reckless. Hearing Yin Tong's words, a strange look flashed in Emohi's eyes, and he coldly said, "Prepare to meet the enemy." After saying that, Emohi and the phantasm disappeared from the hall. According to Yin Tong, the enemy didn't have a lot of people, but they were very strong. Along the way, they swept through everything in their path. No one could stop them. Chapter 2485. When the evil spirits saw Xiao Chun, there was a trace of excitement in their hearts, as well as a strong desire to fight. When the evil spirits saw Xiao Chun, there was a trace of excitement in their hearts, as well as a strong desire to fight. Back then, the evil spirits saw Xiao Chun enter the void black hole and thought that Xiao Chun should have died long ago, but who knew that Xiao Chun was still alive. This result made the evil spirits happy. Moreover, because of Emohi's help this time, the evil spirits were full of confidence in their own strength. With their Emperor Realm cultivation, the evil spirits were confident that they could kill Xiao Chun. Compared to letting Xiao Chun die in the void black hole, the evil spirits naturally preferred to kill Xiao Chun with their own hands. After all, Xiao Chun was indeed a respectable opponent to them. Facing the evil spirits' gaze, Xiao Chun did not have any intention of paying attention to them. At a glance, he could tell that the evil spirits were now Emperor Realm Masters. This cultivation was indeed much stronger than before. If it was the previous Xiao Chun, he would definitely not be their opponent. But now, Xiao Chun did not put them in his eyes. The evil spirits thought that Xiao Chun was still a half-step Emperor Realm Master. But little did they know that Xiao Qin's cultivation had actually surpassed them. He had reached the Emperor Realm Minor Perfection, which was one minor realm higher than the evil spirits. With the two's talent and combat power, there was basically no way for them to fight if they were one minor realm higher. Therefore, Xiao Chun did not put the evil spirits in his eyes at all. On the other side, when Xiao Chun entered the Great Thousand World, he had already contacted Jun Wuya and the others through a sound transmission talisman, telling them that he had returned to the Great Thousand World. At the same time, he also briefly told Jun Wuya about the Hongmeng World and the Great World. At this time, in Leaping Tiger City, Jun Wuya, Tenzu, Luo Xing, Dao Xiong, Dao Ju, Xiao Xiao, and the others had gathered together. Jun Wuya first told everyone about Xiao Qin's return to the Great Thousand World. Hearing that Xiao Chun was fine, everyone was naturally wild with joy. When they learned that Xiao Chun had rushed into the void black hole, everyone was extremely worried. Many people even thought that Xiao Chun was dead. However, now that Xiao Chun had returned safely, Jun Wuya was completely relieved. However, after hearing about the Hongmeng World and the Great World, everyone's faces became solemn again. The Hongmeng World and the Great World were universes outside the Great Thousand World. From Xiao Qin's sound transmission talisman, everyone knew about the outside world. They knew that the Great Thousand World was just one of the many universes, and its strength could only be considered as a low-level existence. Chapter 2488. The evil spirits were Emperor Realm Masters, and it was precisely because of this that the evil spirits were so confident when facing Shao Chun. After all, the difference between a half-step Emperor Realm Master and a true Emperor Realm Master was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. In fact, the gap was huge. The evil spirits were Emperor Realm Masters, and it was precisely because of this that the evil spirits were so confident when facing Shao Chun. After all, the difference between a half-step Emperor Realm Master and a true Emperor Realm Master was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. In fact, the gap was huge. However, the evil spirits obviously did not expect that their so-called confidence was not worth mentioning in Shao Chen's eyes. He had long seen through the evil spirits' Emperor Realm Masters, but who told him that Shao Chen's cultivation was still half-step Emperor Realm? The evil spirits could break through to the Emperor Realm, so could Shao Chun. Moreover, the evil spirits had obtained benefits from Mo He, and Shao Chun had obtained a great opportunity in Immortal Palace. Not only had his cultivation improved, but his physical body had also undergone a qualitative leap. Therefore, although the evil spirits had made great progress in just a few months, they still paled in comparison to Shao Chun. Sensing Shao Chun's minor Emperor Realm aura, the evil spirit's expression changed drastically. They looked at Shao Chun in disbelief, not knowing what to say for a moment. Originally, Xiaming thought that after he broke through to the Emperor Realm, he would be able to put an end to the battle between the two of them, but now, it was indeed possible to put an end to it. However, it was Shao Chun who put an end to Xiaming. With a calm expression, Shao Chun looked at the evil spirits and said faintly, "You haven't seen the outside world. You have never been to the outside world. Although the boundless world is vast, it is still just one of the many universes. We have always been frogs at the bottom of a well. If we don't go to the outside world, we naturally don't know the wonders of the outside world. To be honest, evil spirits, I no longer care about the outcome of the battle between the two of us. That's because I've seen too many people in the outside world who are stronger than us." After saying that, Shao Chun looked at Zishi, Qi Mei, and the others who were fighting against Lin Feng, Mu Jun, and the others. Following Shao Chun's gaze, the evil spirits also saw the two figures. At the same time, they also sensed that the two's auras were no weaker than Shao Chun's, as well as their terrifying combat power. Lin Feng and Mu Jun were only low-level Emperor Realm Masters, but when facing Zishi and Qi Mei, Lin Feng and Mu Jun didn't find it difficult at all. On the contrary, they had the advantage. Emohi's face turned somewhat gloomy as if Lin Yuan's words had hit his sore spot. However, Lin Yuan did not seem to mind as he sneered and said, "Ha! All of you dogs still have a glib tongue." Originally, he had already touched the threshold of the Ancestor Stage. If he could obtain the guidance of an Ancestor Stage expert, it would not be impossible for him to break through to the Ancestor Stage in the future. Now that you've done this, Sai, you've destroyed his hopes. Although it looks like he has broken through to the Ancestor Stage, it is actually like throwing away a watermelon and picking up sesame seeds. Xie Tian was the same as Jun Wuya. He had already touched the threshold of the Ancestor Realm. Since he could touch the threshold of the Ancestor Realm without anyone guiding him and without any direction, it meant that Xie Tian had the qualifications to become an Ancestor Realm expert. But with Moa's actions, this bit of hope had been destroyed. Moreover, Xie Tian, who forcefully broke through, was only a false Ancestor Realm expert. He couldn't be considered a true Ancestor Realm expert. Hearing Lin Yuan's disdainful cold laugh, Mo shouted in a cold voice, "Lin Yuan, that's enough. This is my Demon Abyss matter. What does it have to do with you?" Lin Yuan's gains were not bad, but because of this, Mo was this excited. While the two of them were fighting, in the Evil God Palace, Xie Tian had indeed come out of seclusion. However, Xie Tian had not thought that the Ancestor Realm he had broken through to was not the true Ancestor Realm. Looking at the rich heavenly punishment in the sky, Xietian had a confident smile on his face as he spoke in a heroic voice. Ha! Ha! Ancestor Realm, Ancestor Realm. This one has finally broken through to the Ancestor Realm. After being stuck at the half-step Ancestor Realm for all these years, now that he had stepped into the Ancestor Realm, Xietian was naturally very excited. The Ancestor Realm. This was a level that no one in the Great Thousand World had ever reached before. And he, Xietian, had become the first Ancestor Realm expert in the Great Thousand World. How could he not be excited? Even though the natural talent in the sky was extremely rich and gave people great pressure, after breaking through to the Ancestor Realm, Xietian was still full of confidence when he felt the power in his body increase by several times. He did not think that he would fail at all. The next step was to pass the heavenly tribulation. Accompanied by Xietian's laughter, the first bolt of heavenly thunder fiercely fell from the sky. In response, Xietian gave a cold smile. Insignificant skill. Saying this, Xietian suddenly sent out a punch. The power of this punch made Xietian unable to believe that he actually possessed such strength. In a trance, Xietian felt that with his current strength, he could kill an Emperor Realm Master with a single punch.